All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Gamrot versus Salkilld, taking a look at and giving our predictions for the upcoming UFC 330, Makhachev versus Garry. To do all of that with me, as always, the man, myth, and legend. He is the Ohio player. Ladies have described him as big as the brand new Meta Apex, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, brother?
I'm living large and in charge over here. Obviously with sharks, they can only get as big in the environment that they're in. So as the people in the apex performing, they're going to show out even more now. So I'm very excited to get this one going. It is now Monday, of course. We get to talk about fights from Saturday. It feels like it's been a while for some reason, but we're here and I'm very ready.
Right back at it again. Absolutely. Yes. And we did have some good fights on Saturday to talk about in the new Meta Apex. Looked pretty good to me, man. I was pretty impressed by what we saw in the new facility. It was kind of amazing to me that they were able to hide all of what it would become on the previous broadcasts. Maybe it's camera tricks. I don't know if it was just a perception thing, but the new version of it looks great. Facility looks awesome. And the fights were pretty good. So I was pretty happy coming into this one.
I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty confused because I remember they were talking about renovations and that they would be underway, and they were like, no, it's like a second lot kind of deal. And then I remember that they officially said that they were gonna expand it. And then I guess I forgot that have we just not been there in a while, or did they just do this overnight? Like I
Well,
remember when I was a kid, there was a gas station that just overnight became a different one, and I was like, is it just that easy to just make shit? Like what's happening?
yeah, that's how the theme parks do it. They'll turn things over like in a matter of hours. But no, I think that they rolled it out in phases. I believe. I think that we had like a little bit of a like one of the sections was opened up for a little while, and we had those balcony seating for a little minute, not balcony, like stadium seating for a little minute there, and then I think that they basically just did that in a multiple sections of the area to kind of give it the look that it has now, I think. But yeah, it popped up kind of, not at random, but sort of at random. And I'm glad that it did because it looked really good.
I do find the idea that obviously, if in theory you would want to continue expanding, now you have like the biggest arena kind of deal that you could own on your land, that you can invite anybody over. But I think that maybe is starting to defeat the purpose when you start getting bigger and bigger for the Apex. It's like, well, this was supposed to be a spot for the guys that can't perform under the big lights. Now we're just putting them in the big lights where we are,
Well,
like.
let's see, but that's not true though. I mean, that's just our perception as fans that that's what it was supposed to be. It was like, there was never anything that said like, oh, these are the guys that we're not taking out on the road. It was just, we do some shows at the Apex, some are on the road, etc.
Well, another thing that's interesting is in that idea that if they expanded once, we made it a little bigger. In theory, expand bigger and bigger. You have your own arena. The meta apex ring or the cage is smaller. So like, isn't that just a weird thing that they're gonna have the one and only small octagon of the UFC kind of repertoire of the arenas they go to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it, man. I mean, basically, with it being a little bit of a more smaller enclosed space, you got to fight. Obviously, you have less room to run away, and with the way that the seating is, it must be amazing to watch fights in that venue. Now, I really am going to try to make it a mission of mine to see a show at the Apex at some point in the future.
Do you want to hear something crazy? And I
Sure.
don't know if this is true or this was just a tweet that I saw from one of like the normal UFC people that tweet. He said something like, "I don't know about you guys, but if you're a resident of Las Vegas and you see Contender Series tickets for $40, that is very appealing."
Oh
So,
my, $40 for Contender Series tickets. That's insane.
well, I it's crazy because like the Contender Series, if you think of something like again, NXT, WWE, they have a crowd, but it's just for free. You could just go watch. Like it's just anybody who lives in the area. I think it's on a college campus, so it's just like mostly students of the
I think it's here. I think it's in Central Florida, if I'm not mistaken. That's where
yeah,
that's
you
at.
are
Yeah.
right. Absolutely. So that's another cool thing. I mean, $40 ain't free, but $40 for Contender Series is definitely right up my alley, I would say.
Oh,
So
you kidding me? $40 for what we know the Contender Series to be? That's a steal. I would be there. All, it's what 10 weeks. I'd be there all 10.
yeah, absolutely. No, the Apex is obviously being taken care of. I don't listen. it's got the name Meta on it now, and Zuckerberg is a big fan. That dude's got billions of dollars. He could do whatever he wants around that name, you know? Can we
All
start
right.
getting Zuckerberg to expand on it even more? Can we listen, can we just get a theme park in the background? I don't
Careful what you wish for, surely, but yeah, no, I mean, I get they could make it like the Winchester House; it just never stops expanding. It just
there
becomes,
there you go.
but yeah, no. Speaking of the Contender Series, we did want to mention that this is the week. Tomorrow is the day. We've got the Ultimate Fighter and the Contender Series returns. It is this is the sweet spot of the year. You know, around the Yama parts here, like Contender Series is a holiday. So, you know, this right here, when it's Contender Series and the end of Tough, that's like the golden part of the holiday. You get everything as far as the new prospects, you know, are concerned. That's what you're getting all of that at once. So, looking forward to that. And I would assume that you are as well, Chase.
I am so grateful. I can't promise that it's going to be forever. Contender series. Once again, I think I'll try to watch it with my dad because I think that's just how my schedule lines up. I don't want to like try to rush home and then miss something. That's fine. I'll just probably watch it with my dad. That's a cool one. I like showing him the new prospects. Contender series is perfect. Again, digestible content. And guys, I should be off work to watch it, and I'm so happy. At least tomorrow, the first week, I am at least off tomorrow. I will be able to watch it live with Thinker, of course, in his chat. I don't know if you guys knew. Thinker is going to be watching that live. I put that on him. He's it's happening. I
Oh,
told him. Let's go.
bet your ass I will be. Absolutely. Yes, I will be here live for the Contender Series. And of course, for Tough, we'll do Contender Series first, since that theoretically at least has a defined start time. It should be 7 o'clock p.m. tomorrow that they are broadcasting the Contender Series. So we'll do that. And then we will do the most current episode of Tough right thereafter in one stream.
I mean, since it is, I know we have had some off camera talks about a lot of things, but we didn't talk about the finale of Tough. It is going to be coming up. The last episode is going to be airing. What are our thoughts? I mean, so we know it's not Gigi, of course. We'll come back to her in a few. I mean, who is your person that's going to win this one? I mean, let's run down the names that are still in it. Of course, Tina Black, she's
Mm-hmm.
still there.
Yep.
We got
Melissa Amaya.
Melissa Amaya. That's the matchup? Oh wait, we don't know if Tina's gonna. Did Tina win?
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Tina.
that's gonna
Tina.
happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Tina's fight, I believe, is not tomorrow. I think it's the one after. I think it's I believe, right, because we have the men's fight tomorrow.
Oh shoot, you are
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Okay. So and then we have Xavier, and then the American guy. That who knows?
Oh yeah. It's Xavier and Christian Strong is the American, and then there's the Ulu who Xavier is
Nice.
fighting, and then Muhammad Ali, but we know that he's not gonna make it, right? Because he's another one that's yeah.
Yeah.
They have
Fuck.
yeah, but I thought you made a very good point about Tough this year, though. You know, I said this on a different stream. People were saying, oh, they don't care about Tough at all if they're letting
Right.
all of these fighters come into the organization and spoiling the show. But you made the point that it's like, no, that they're confident in these fighters that they are going to be the next wave. So it's like, even if they took the loss on the show, bring him in, give him another shot, and see how it goes actually in the organization. I thought it was a good point.
And not that I think that they were planning for it to be this way, but being able to see somebody's loss, of course, and then being able to see the upset or the comeback, of course. I think that is very important for a fighter's career. So when it comes to Tough, knowing that these guys lose, I agree. They're putting stock in it. It's like it's not going to matter. You're going to watch them lose, but just wait about 6 months, and you're gonna watch them win big. It's gonna be even sweeter. You're gonna be like, is that guy that got choked out in like 20 seconds? It's like, yeah, but now he just beat the shit out of this dude for 3 rounds. Like,
Right. Or you can wait a week and then watch Gigi Canuto fail again is the other
true.
thing that could happen. But we'll get into all of that, of course. But no,
Failure
yeah,
is hard.
yeah, I know. I've still a little bit of
I
issue
get
with
it.
her,
I get
but I
it.
mean, yeah, well, great. She made it that way though, considering how she acts. But either way, we will talk about that fight and many more, of course. But yes, we got our last couple of them, and then we will find out who the Ultimate Fighter is. I would think in probably what, like 3-4 weeks, something like that. I mean, they sometimes do it later than that, right? So maybe like a couple months they'll finally do the finals.
There's one card specifically. I can't remember which one it was, but there was like just a lack of fights, and it was a card coming up. They're probably gonna throw it on there because it's like, oh, why are we only at 11 fights? And it's like, oh, here's the two finale. It's
Right.
like, so it'll look weird for now, but then once they add them in, it's like, oh, duh, that's your first prelim. That's your a featured prelim. That's your opener right there, like something like that. So
Absolutely. So keep your eyes out for that, of course. And, as we get through the end of the season here, we'll know exactly who it's going to be, even if a couple of them have been spoiled. Like we said, this was a very spoil heavy season. We knew that Gigi Canuto was making her debut. We know that the
Anna,
Binoche,
um,
Anna Bandana as well, she made her debut. And then the French girl also, yeah, I forget, yeah,
Delphine,
Delphine, yes, but Delphine Binoche, I believe is her name. And then
Elaine, sorry,
yeah, yeah, right, right. But
Elaine from
we learned from
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Yes,
Yes.
yeah, most definitely. And then and then Muhammad Ali just got announced as being on the Contender Series this year, so he's another one that's not going to be making it to the final. So you got a couple of spoilers early on, but I'm sure that's going to only make the actual finale that much better because this has been a really good season as far as talent has gone, even if the fights haven't necessarily always equaled up to that.
No, absolutely. Well, I'm glad that we got through that. Is there anything else from the weekend that you wanted to bring up?
Not really, man. I'm ready to get right into these UFC fights if you are.
Okay, but before we do that, we have some people that have been rocking with us. And I
Yes.
listen, I'm going to say it loud and proud right now because you guys are the reason that we do this, of course. Like we're here entertainment, we're here for you guys to listen to our ball knowledge, of course. So, I want to shout out everybody who's here, of course. So, Sam, Bleeding Edge, Henry, 107, Didgery Dave. Did I say Bleeding Edge? Bleeding Edge again. Appreciate you. And with that being said, shout out to you specifically, but everybody else in general, we're gonna do better. We're gonna do better looking at that chat. And if you bring up something that is something that we need to bring up, obviously it's not always the moment in time to just throw out what you've said, but we're gonna try to do better. We're gonna try to do better at just being a little more engaged with you guys. And I think that is something that from here on out we need to just try to be a little more courteous to you guys. So thank you for being here. Continue to be here. And if you have something that is relevant to the fight specific that we are talking about, please just we're going to do our best to get you in on this one. I got you.
All right. Well, then there you go. And we can start that off by starting off with this card UFC Fight Night, Gamrot versus Salkilld. This took place at the Meta Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Chase, this was one that a lot of people had, I don't know, mixed feelings about on paper, I suppose. I think it's probably because it wasn't super heavy on big names aside from the main event. And, maybe some questionable fights in the placement, perhaps, co-main and down. But what did you think about this one coming into it on paper?
On paper, I did not expect much. I mean, the main event looked good, and then the co-main event did not. And that made when you see a drop off for the main to the co-main, you rightfully assume that like everything underneath the co-main is worse than what I'm seeing. And it's not normally how it happens. I mean, you have a lot of good prospects on this card who did show out more than maybe some expected. And there were some good performances. There was some weird stuff going on, but going into it, wasn't too happy afterwards. Hmm, hmm. Nice. So,
Yeah,
what about you?
exactly. Pretty well the same. I mean, honestly, I knew the main event was one that I was excited about. There were a couple of specific fighters that I wanted to see. This often is how it goes. It feels like on cards that I'm not super hot on. I feel like there's always like, okay, I want to see that guy show out, or like I'm looking forward to seeing this person's performance, and then hopefully it's a good fight. That was the feeling that I had for this one. And then of course with a couple of new prospects in there, that's always interesting to me. I'm always looking for the next people to watch out for and all that kind of stuff. So I had an interest level in the card that was, I think, a little bit more than the average person, perhaps. But I was waiting for the card to impress me, and thankfully, it seems to have done that. So,
Oh yeah, no, this was fine. This was definitely an interesting one, and I'm excited to talk about a lot of things. Some though, we have some stuff to talk about.
yeah, some a lot, some a little. Well, let's get it started with the first one, and we'll run them all through. Of course, this is Gigi Canuto. Of course, she fought Carol Foro, and Foro won by unanimous decision. How'd you think that Gigi did in her big debut?
I'm just gonna break it to you, and I'm gonna be real. Thinker, I know this is not what you expected. You heard what I had to say. Gigi, she's got that something to her that maybe not a lot of women resonate with, and for good reason. But when she came in here and she put on the performance that she did, I think she truly did make a fan out of me. It was right at the I knew one, she's very very young, which is very key to this. Like she is definitely a dog from the jump, because at the end of the first round it did not look good. She was getting pieced up, and I said, oh shit, that second round knockouts, it's looking really hot. But Gigi, straight face as ever. I think this is one of her best attributes. I mean, she does have that resting bitch face, but she wears it, nothing affects her. She is truly just like, she's not, it's weird because she's like in the moment, she's zoned in, but she's comfortable where she's at. There was a lot of times where she was ready to just take those shots and give them back. And I think she really did impress me because she stayed committed to her game plan. She was willing to stand and bang. She didn't get knocked out. She didn't even get fucking dropped. I actually give her so much credit because at the end of the first round, again, it did not look good with that end flurry. And she went over to her corner and she fucking hyped the fucking crowd. I was like, okay, she is, well, one, she is not just about it. She's a showman. She's here to entertain. She knows what she's got to do. I mean, she's young. Get the crowd involved, of course. We got a big round two coming up. It did not end up being a great round two. I actually had a problem with this round two because when you're in a position that she was in where your opponent is just going to lay there, I think you have to realize, like, okay, it's going to go to the next round. Should I really risk losing that? Like, you have to think way too far ahead. Like, you got to do something that makes it so I'm not just winning the round, of course. Like, I mean, I can win 2 rounds and still lose in the third, So I think her settling for the grappling was a mistake, of course, because she could have. Listen, Foro was doing a great job of just stonewalling. She was just turtling up and just holding, locking down. Gigi was looking good in the grappling, almost had that sub in the third. But I don't know. I feel like the second round, she could have just stood up and just kicked her in the stomach or something. Like, she could have just done something, Like, she just, she kept looking at her coach and she's like, all right, cool. Cool. All right, we're gonna sit here. And like, it was fine. It was a fine fight. This was a great fight, actually. Aside from the second, I can understand how people wouldn't love it, but it was still really good grappling from Gigi, and I think it was very dominant. Arguably, not gonna lie, and the rewatch after, because I watched this twice. I rewatched this twice. Rewatched it twice, by the way.
Jeez. Wow.
I think round two might have been a 10-8. Like, I mean, 4-0 really did nothing.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy because this easily could have been a draw, and I don't think the judges really kind of were given that opportunity here. That could have been a 10-8 in the second round, which is crazy. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, 4-0 definitely needs to, not accept position like that. I mean, also, Gigi probably could have done a little bit of a better job of trying to actually work towards the finish in that round. So it was a little bit of a half and half on why that became the stalemate that it did. But yeah, I mean, yeah, 4-0 doing, I mean, like holes in the game on both sides. This was a good fight. This definitely was a good fight. So I don't want to, preface everything with that. But, you see where the improvements lie for both competitors here. Gigi, she needs to work on her striking defense like now. I mean, that has to be an immediate, like, she's such a credentialed grappler. She comes from a grappling base, all these accolades there. She lets her hands drop constantly. And Foro was having such capitalization moments when she's just pumping that jab out there and it's just working gangbusters combos after that. Once she had her confidence up a little bit, it was really her striking from Foro was looking really sharp, and Gigi not blocking anything at times was not great.
yeah, she does have a chin. I'll give her that. Again,
Yeah.
confidence is definitely key. 4-0, I will say this. I mean, 10-7, shout out you say for heart, you heart Gigi, brother. Carol 4-0. I know people are going to have an opinion because she grabbed the cage like 7 times and nobody
She
did
did.
shit about it. And she obviously was taking some shit that she wasn't supposed to be taking. The thing is, she's a fighter, man. She is here to fucking win. And, taking the second round off, whatever. Third round, she defended those takedowns and she got up a few times and they went to the bell scrapping, man. I think this was fight of the night, man. They should have gave a bonus. I think they was hating, man. They did not want to give 4-0 a bonus just because of that shit that she went through, man. That's all that I'm saying. This was a good fight.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other things that about Gigi that were sticking out to me, were that this is an ironic one that I mentioned on the watch along. You remember on The Ultimate Fighter, she had said that Anita Kumar, the girl from Pakistan, was soft in the belly. That is very ironic considering that Gigi is soft in the belly. I had noticed that too. She's got a little bit of a gut that's hanging over the shorts there, and she was getting touched to the body. It was affecting her. That goes hand in hand with the fact that she also gasses out. I mean, like that was the big problem on The Ultimate Fighter. She gassed tremendously in the Amaya fight. That led to her losing that one. This one, she did better. She was able to stick it out through round 3. So she has made improvements, but I think that there was already a little bit of that setting in by round 3. So it made it a lot harder for her to keep up. So those are the big deals that I see with Gigi. Cause like physicality wise, like I think I even said this in your watch along stream that, she's got big arms. Like she's physically built to strike. If she just tightens up the technical aspects of it, she's got to work on some of those details.
Yeah, I said she's kind of built like Alexa Grasso. She's like kind of same method too. She got a good grappling, but she stands, and she does tighten up the boxing. She'll be really good. The thing about Gigi. There was a good moment at the end, and obviously throughout the fight, you kind of got a little bit of her personality. She was hyping the fight on. She's ready to continue on. Even at the end of the fight, bro, she was just letting Foro just beat the hell. Like she was just letting her. She went for like this random knee and just got like cracked at the end of the belt, and it's like she just don't give a fuck, like she is in there to just she's just making shit happen, and it wasn't happening then, but that's her plan is I'm just fighting, I just got to do shit. And then at the end, of course, when the bell's getting rung, there or I'm sorry, the bell's rung, they're doing the scoring or whatever. Carol Foro, she leans in, they do a little glove touch, and I was like, look, see, Gigi, she don't hate everybody, she was in here to fight. She put on her little attitude. She broke character at the round break, hyped the crowd, and then at the end, they knocked it out, and that was cool. They went to war, man. This was good, and you would never get this from other regions, not really, bro. A Brazilian versus Brazilian might be the best fight matchup that you get normally. Like
And
it's crazy.
we also know that that Gigi loves to go after other Brazilians. She has a Brazilian bias, being a Brazilian woman. So she went after Tina Black on the show. She's going after Carol here, and then like you said, afterwards everything cools down. But I'm okay with all of that. But what I will say is that if what you're saying is true, that she goes out there and just kind of wants to just like throw it all out and just scrap, then the person in the next fight who won is how you need to be doing that, because that's her style. That's what she does. Juliana Miller. Juliana Miller goes out there just to scrap and then figures it out as she goes. Like, we'll talk about her in a minute, but like that's the difference, is that, there's one version of that can actually win fights, I guess. And you have to have an opponent that's going to allow for it, or you have to tighten the technicality up and become an actual mixed martial artist, as opposed to, the character that you're trying to portray.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. I don't know what it is, and I saw it on the Contender Series. Obviously, she's a great fighter, but there's just sometimes you see a little extra. You see the spark in someone, and I think Foro, obviously with what happened, she's moving forward with her career now. She is now a UFC fighter. This is a good career that I think is going to be made. I think at strawweight, what's Jessica Andrade? I mean, it might be something similar to this. We might be onto the new era, I would say.
I mean, the new era is being written in real time, always in this sport. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing both of them again. I do hope that Gigi gets I'm sure she's gonna get another shot after a fight like that. There's no way that they're not gonna try to rebook her. So
Ultimate Fighter privilege. She's gonna get like 4 or 5 of them things. I mean,
true, yeah, very good point. Yeah, the Ultimate Fighter does give you a little bit of a leg up, doesn't it? But
you
yeah,
can miss weight too. I mean, look at Kelvin. So
true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, I mean, at least Kelvin has a couple of wins under the belt before he got to that point, perhaps. But yeah, both of them did great in this fight. This was yet another women's banger to start the card off, so I was very happy with that as well, and takes us into the stuff going forward. So I thought this was a nice bang to get everything off and running.
this was awesome.
Yeah, good job by both of these ladies. I liked it. All right, well, that takes us to the next one here, of course, the aforementioned Juliana Miller versus Ravina Oliveira. This is one that I had some pretty strong feelings about, and I'd heard a couple of people saying that they picked Ravina Oliveira, and I hate to be an "I told you so" kind of guy. It's not my nature to do that. However, in this fight specifically, I was fairly confident in saying that Ravina Oliveira was not ever going to be the right pick, because sadly she is not a UFC level fighter. She is not of the caliber of the UFC. Juliana Miller has a what I call the hood base. She's got the same base as Bobby Green. It's
Nice.
there's just thug jitsu out there, and it works for her. I mean, really, like if you go back and listen to what I had said Juliana Miller was going to do in this fight, she did exactly that. Get her hands on her. She had a couple of good cracks too. Actually, I was surprised by Juliana Miller's striking in this fight. She looked pretty good in the striking at times. Limited striking in this fight altogether, but had a couple of decent shots. It was actually funny. The start of the fight was funny. Both of them got one solid crack off on each other, and then I think both of them realized, hey, I don't really want to be doing that. So Miller just bum rushed her. I thought that was like, all right, we got that out of the way. Let's just say we both felt the power. Now we'll take it somewhere else. But so yeah, that was how it all started. And I said Ravina might have power, but she can't control it or defend herself. Another defensively lacking fighter in Ravina Oliveira here, and Miller uses it to her advantage. I mean, the ground game for Miller. This is a note I wanted to bring up for sure. I'll let you get your points in after this. But did you hear on commentary them say that Juliana Miller has grappling wins over Fatima Klein and Bia Mesquita? So for everybody out there who is saying, "Oh, Juliana Miller sucks," this and that, yeah, I mean, okay, she's not had the greatest run in MMA, but to doubt the credentials as a grappler, I mean, those are names that you can really hang your hat on. So, I mean, I just think that there might be a little more to Juliana Miller than meets the eye. Granted, she might need an opponent of Ravina Oliveira's stature to look as good as she did.
With the point that you just made, I am going to doubt that. I am going to, you say don't doubt her grappling credentials. I'm going to doubt those. Fatima Klein and Bia Mosquito, they couldn't have been talking about the right person. They
I,
could not have been talking about her. I need to see the video clip, because
it
if this
could
is
have been when
true,
they were like just starting out. You know what I mean?
they
Like,
could have been 7 years old,
that's what I'm
like who
saying.
knows. So that one is definitely interesting to hear. But I remember this one I felt really proud about. I should have had money down on it, but it was only like a plus 100. So who really is the big brain, of course? Is it Vegas or me? Because I remember saying, like, dude, Ravina has been submitted. She's a Brazilian girl, by the way. You're supposed to grow up doing jiu-jitsu down there. And this is where I'm questioning her Brazilian credentials, because she gets submitted instantly by just this American girl.
that
Like, I
that aside from her name being somewhat unique, that's why I always remembered her, is
mm,
because she bucks the trend. She is a striker primarily with no backfill. Yeah, I know
right, a
exactly, and
striker.
even that's quote unquote. You're exactly right. That's exactly it. She's supposedly a striker with no backfilling of any type of grappling. So you really have a lot of leeway to work here. She's almost a blank canvas.
Yeah, I'm just very happy that I was confident in Juliana Miller. I even said that submission is what I would say she would get. I was very happy about that again. But there's something funny about Juliana Miller, just because there's nothing really else for me to say about her in this fight. So Zach Pauga, obviously resident Twitter Hall of Famer,
Goat.
he was talking about how they count Juliana Miller's tough win on her actual record to make her positive in the thing. And she would actually be 4-4 if they didn't give her that win. And I just thought it was funny, because he went on to say, like, I just want my record to show my win as well. It was just like a big funny tweet. But
True.
Juliana Miller, I don't think there's much, like, I mean, you got to win on, again, when it comes to the totem pole, we know this is, so maybe she's still learning. I don't know, though. They're probably going to give her somebody who's really good next again, just to make it seem like, oh, she's coming off a win. This is a veteran in the sport, and then she gets finished by another prospect, whatever you want to say. But good win for her on this. I was very happy about the pick. I would say that.
Well, now I am going to go farther than that, because the same way you were talking about Gigi, I want to give that credit to Juliana Miller, at least in this fight. Now, of course, like I said, I know that Ravina is not UFC caliber, so you got to keep that in perspective. But when she got the trip, it was great control on the ground and great activity as well. She was hitting some big elbows, some really good ground and pound. It was easy round one for her, and then the round two sub was easy as well. I mean, it didn't even look like she fully had the choke sunk in. It was really just a tight crank. I mean, again, that might speak to the lack of quality of Ravina Oliveira, but I mean, I thought that Juliana Miller looked really good in this fight. Granted, as I said, she Miller is a brawling hood rat with jits, is how I describe her. And I mean, having known some women like her through the course of my life, I think that there is a basis for them to be channeling that energy into something more constructive than throwing lamps. I think that's exactly what she's doing here, and I appreciate that. So it just happened to be against a non-UFC level fighter, whatever. But she also, I guess, and on a serious note, she did have a reason that she was fighting so intensely, of course. I did want to bring this up just to say, best wishes to everyone in Spokane, Washington, dealing with those horrible wildfires that are going on out there. I thought it was very nice that the UFC did the video package kind of describing what's going on, and that, of course, is where Juliana Miller is from. So we wish everybody the best out there. Hopefully, this is one of those instances where Dana, behind the scenes, all those little instances that we hear about Dana doing all these nice things behind the scenes that we don't get to hear about as the public. Hopefully, that's something that happened here too, where the organization maybe did a little bit of relief effort for those suffering people out there in Spokane, Washington.
Well, is there anything else you want to say about this fight specifically?
No, that's
Because
about it.
the next point that I'll make is I actually did not catch the wildfire promo package or whatever. But to that point, I think it is interesting that they had a promo package kind of deal for that, but all they had for Alan Nascimento was just the still image. So, I mean, I'm not the one to get upset about it, because like at least they said something. A lot of people missed it and they were like, "Damn, they didn't say anything." But they did. They did a little still shot, like they normally do if like a camera crew member or film production guy passes away. It's the same thing. But the wildfire promo versus the still image of the fighter who died. I mean, I can
Well,
see how some people would be rubbed away.
yeah, I could hear.
Right,
I
like you
hear
don't
you.
own footage of his fights and stuff. Like
Right. I get what you're saying. Yeah, you could probably. I mean, a card like this, you probably could have just done a little bit of both, right? So I do. I get that. It wouldn't be like something that would be a big sticking point for me personally, but I mean, I just, it was. How much tragedy can you really cram into one broadcast, right? And then you also had the Darren Elkins retirement, which we'll talk about too. So it's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts or whatever. But I was glad that Miller got to at least bring some attention to that. I had heard, and I did not verify this, but I think someone had said that Miller's husband is a firefighter, and also Brady Heasted, a former The Ultimate Fighter contestant there, who's in the organization, is also a firefighter in that region. So shout out to both of them for doing good work out there. And I mean, our hearts are out with those people who are dealing with that.
And all jokes aside, of course, shout out Fire Marshal for all that he's been doing out there. Francis, yeah, he's doing good.
Bringing awareness via his nickname.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, he's
True.
leading the charge. He's the marshal. He's the marshal of the fire. So,
Well, hopefully he can get that under control then. But yeah, either way, good fight over here for Miller. And as far as Ravina Oliveira goes, I've been saying this for a while. There's nothing for her in this organization. She needs to not be in the UFC. Sorry.
Shannon Clark needs an opponent in PFL though.
That's funny that you mentioned Shannon Clark, because your little your reel that you made about Shannon Clark popped up for me again today, and I looked at it again and I was like, man, I really hope that someone out there, if you guys are in the chat, and if you've seen that reel that Chase did, or if you haven't, go to his channel, youtube.com/@CP Smalls, give that a watch, and if there's some way that you can get it to Shannon Clark, make sure that she knows that she has a fan in Chase Parton, because I really enjoyed that clip.
Yeah, and let her know she'll definitely have an invite on the free for all for sure.
Absolutely, 10,000%, and she might be getting an opponent in Ravina Oliveira soon.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
And or Juliana Miller, guys. Who knows? I mean, we can get rid of her too. I mean,
Not
there's just the
yet.
point.
Not yet. There's still a runway for Juliana. I'm telling you, she is going to bring Hood to the masses the same way that King Green did.
Fair. She's gonna change her name though.
True. I mean, she could go with a better nickname. I think, Killer Miller. It's still easy. And we also have.
We should just change her name to Killer. She'll change her name to Killer
Oh,
Miller.
true.
Yes.
I like. There you go. Okay, I like it. I'm good with that.
Good deal.
All right. Well, next up here, we had Miles Johns versus Gianni Vasquez. Of course, Miles Johns getting the win by knockout. This was a 2 days notice and up a weight for Vasquez, filling in, of course, for the brother Rosas, who apparently had herpes, question mark. This is the rumor, or the conventional
It was
conversation.
on his forehead.
Can you get it there? I don't. Maybe. I
No,
don't
no,
think
no.
you can.
The infection was on his forehead, so I don't think it was herpes.
Okay, I don't know. This somebody had said that in the chat, but I'm.
Bellotto, though, now that dude had herpes.
I mean, he legitimately just came out and said it. So shout out to him for being honest, I guess. But I did also want to thank the commentary for reminding me that Vasquez fought in the UFC earlier this year. I mean, this is how I get the nature of this sport. You sometimes forget quickly if it's not somebody who makes a crazy impression, but the fight was crazy. They feel like they've been doing this guy Gianni Vasquez kind of dirty.
No, I was gonna say that for sure. They fucked him over not once but twice now.
Twice, 2 times. Yeah, exactly. Because Vasquez, that first fight was also on short notice. He missed weight by 5 pounds and then lost to Javid Bashrat in that fight. So it's like, man, they just keep bringing this guy in just to get stomped out.
Well, it's so he takes the fight on 2 days' notice, misses weight. Obviously, if he said he can make weight and didn't, it happens. Whatever. Then they cut him. It's like, well, dude, you said you can't make weight. Like, or you said you could make weight and you didn't. Like, you're not professional. All right, bye. All right, we got 2 days' notice. Who are we looking for? Who's that guy that we cut for coming in overweight on 2 days' notice? But let's put him up a weight real quick. Let's see what he can do.
Bro, if they're helping out the German guy that we were just talking about last week, then they better be helping out Gianni Vasquez at some point, dude. I mean, come on. You can't be doing this guy like that. I mean, especially for a guy, because the whole thing, you got to pick up the phone. Oh, they call, you got to pick up the phone. He picked up the fucking phone. Help the guy out.
And it's not even okay. So Popik is one thing. It's like that dude had no opportunity. Like he didn't even get to showcase anything. Gianni Vasquez on short notice twice
Mhm.
has done some really good stuff. Like, he's warranted being around because listen, Miles Johns completely I well, listen, this dude specifically is one not very entertaining. Aside from this, I was telling you guys, this guy here, I was so emphatic like this get ready for a snoozer cuz Miles Johns for some reason nobody wants to fight him and he just dances around for 3 rounds all the time. And so we get this fight and he's going to fucking war with a dude on 2 days' notice, man. Miles Johns. It's unfortunate where you are in your career. Like, I don't get how you cannot advance. Like, where are your opponents? Like, why were you going to fight a debutant? I don't, I don't understand. But then you
I
get
mean,
cracked by Gianni Vasquez. So that's the crazy part. Go ahead.
well, no, I was just going to say the reason that he's fighting a debuting fighter is because that's sort of where he has gotten himself to. This is what I was saying on the last episode. You know, he's a guy that sort of has been his own worst enemy because he can't get out of his own way to win fights. It sometimes feels. I don't know why that is, but like you know, a couple of his fights have been somewhat close. You know, he really does go out there and like try his hardest. I mean, it's very rare you ever see him taking a step back or you know laying there playing it cautious. He's always really in the fight, but it just never ends up equaling out to like the victory. So he kind of has backslid himself to this position, which is why it is very funny. You say that he's not entertaining. It was very entertaining seeing him win this fight, considering that he was doing fucking laps around the cage and mean mugging the doctor. That's a shout out to Half Dead Frank posting that clip in the Discord. That made me laugh. Yeah, there's that one. It was a very brief. He didn't mean to do it, but like the doctor was walking in and he kind of like was in you know win mode and just sort of like yelled at the doctor. It's like oh, so that was entertaining at least. But it is funny, like you say, Vasquez did do decent work in this fight because he clipped Johns early in the fight. I mean, Johns got staggered and almost went to the ground. I mean, like you know, it was only a brief moment. He quickly recovered, and then he just has the reverse Uno card played right there, which was kind of an interesting little dynamic for this. You know, he blasts Vasquez for the knockout. And we can talk about the stoppage too, but you know, it was an interesting dynamic with that part, and that actually made it a little bit more entertaining. But it just is unfortunate that it had to be against a guy on short notice who is making a second debut.
Yeah, so it's not really impressive to me, one, because he almost knocked you, brother, and you went life or death with him for a second. You know that meme where it's like somebody call the ambulance, but not for
Not for
me. You know
me.
he definitely did pull that one, so I give him credit. I mean, but this is not a product of Miles Johns. You know, this is somebody was willing to go try to take his head off and he had to defend himself, you know. And I think that's where sometimes you get the best out of people. Miles Johns, he's had this whole path where he can just skate around. The last person that I remember Miles Johns having a good fight with was Dan Argueta or some shit. Like I if that's how his name was, shout out him because I actually thought he was a pretty good guy up until he started losing because he made Miles Johns actually try to fight. You know, it's crazy that Miles Johns fights the way that he does when he could do shit like this if he has the right opponent, which evidently has to be a dude who just has nothing to fucking lose. Like,
And
so
there's the biggest problem of them all, right? It's like, you know, yeah, congratulations to Miles Johns for the win. You know, you got a nice knockout. That's great for your record. You know, I mean, 16-5, still a decent record over here, but we had seen the losses starting to creep up a little bit. This gets you back in the win column. All good. But you got to be able to do it against a guy who is not this. I mean, a guy who is not coming in on 2 days' notice. You got to be able to do it amongst the people who are, you know, in populating this division. And this is a crazy, you know, well, featherweight maybe a little bit less, but still, I mean, once you get towards the top, it's more,
they're
you
both
know, it's
bantamweights. This was catchweight at 45.
that is true. Yeah. So there you go. I mean, but like if it's a situation where like everything is equal, you full camp, all of that, you got to be able to do that too. So, you know, Miles Johns, you know, again, I say congratulations for the victory here, even though we didn't talk about the stoppage. What do you think about the stoppage here?
I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I mean, he was getting his head dribbled off the mat there. You know, I
That was
mean,
my point. Yeah.
listen, it was a really I don't know. Not all shots are the same, of course. You know, some punches are just different. I mean, Gianni leaned right into this big, massive hook, and it sat him back. And then Miles Johns, just the ground and pound was just on. You know, sometimes people just have these shots that are just very, very accurate, and they, you know, and he was landing them to his credit. It wasn't like fluky, in my opinion. Like, oh, come on, like I was like, damn, yeah, come on, like get him out of there. Like he had his moment. He showed that he still belongs. Like he could do it in any given day he has an opportunity is what he showed. So I think that's better than just like coming in and showcasing that you're just good or whatever. It's like This dude is a guy who you genuinely believe if you give him more than 2 days, he might be able to do something like 15 times better. So
Yeah, I hope so, and I hope they do give him that shot now that he's saved, events to an extent at least, or say, kept fights on the books more than once now. I mean, I think he deserves that now.
not just saving it, I mean, but making a fight out of it, making an
Right.
exciting performance. We the Basharat bro, we know that he ain't nothing, and this dude actually put up a pretty decent performance against him. So it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. So either way, I agree with you about the stoppage. It was fine, maybe a slightly bit quick, but like you said, his head was bouncing off the mat, so all good with that. And yeah, Miles Johns walks away with a victory. Congratulations! Now do it against somebody fresh, somebody better, somebody who is actually worthy competition, and maybe you won't have the stigma that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody who's training to fight you. That's what we need actually.
Also be helpful. And yeah, and also shout out to Dan Helly. I wanted to mention that too, just as an overarching note for this. There were only two commentators on this one. It was Dan Helly and DC. That
It
made
was
Dan
rough.
Helly, it made Dan Helly do a lot of the heavy lifting when it came to the factual data, which kind of made things a little bit difficult. At one time, he called Valentino
I
Shevchenko, which
heard
was
that.
funny. And then in this fight, he referenced Gianni Vasquez, who fights out of Combate Global. He referenced it as Combat Global, also not correct. So it's those little details. But then you have DC. He's trying to be the facts guy with DC as the color guy, and it becomes a bit of a
Yeah,
muddy affair.
there was this weird thing going on where DC would be like, "And you were just telling me that didn't hurt backstage." It's like, what? Okay, like and then Dan Haley's like, "Oh, I didn't say that," and DC's like, "Oh, come on," and it's like, "What? What? You've done this 6 times now." Like, okay, I get.
They're
He's
having a
like,
good old time, brother. They're just hanging out like bros.
he would say something like, "Yeah, and you just punched me in the knee, so I know how that feels." It's like, can y'all just like do like I don't care what you guys are doing at the desk, bro. Like, can you talk about the shit? Like, fuck.
As they themselves said, Chase, it's a 6-hour broadcast. They have to make it. They have to make it interesting for themselves too.
Yeah, true. I don't know where Bisping was. Was he just warming up for Contender Series? Getting his vocals right.
Must have been either that or getting ready for the next power slap, but one
Gotcha.
way or the other. Either way, though, good deal for Miles Johns here, and yeah, hopefully they'll bring Gianni Vasquez in for an actual camped fight at some point.
Yeah.
All right, next down the line. This is actually a really good scrap here. I like this fight. This is Manuel Sosa versus Richie Miranda. Of course, Richie Miranda, this was his debut. He was coming in as a champ, a defending champ from LFA. And I thought that he really held his own in this fight. This is one of those kinds of times where I thought that even in defeat, because he did lose this fight, I definitely think that it was the correct call was made as to who won the fight. Sosa did win the fight by unanimous decision here. But I thought that Miranda kind of came away from this fight with a little bit more of a moral victory and made himself look really good in his debut, because this was a tough fight for him, but he didn't quit on himself. He took a lot of adversity. And I think that had his leg not gotten compromised in that second round, he might have very well been able to turn this ship around. What'd you think?
This was actually it was a really good fight. It was very stressful if you were or it was very infuriating, frustrating, I would say. If you are a Manuel Sosa fan who thinks this dude, again, I've said this dude is like the Terminator. He just never goes away. He just always walks you down. This one, he could have finished it. He got that body shot in the second round and it just let him off. And I find that one crazy. Obviously, the leg kicks were adding up and it just never amounted to anything. But what I will say, and I think this is to the point, Richie Miranda, when you hear that name, I mean, that's aura. I mean, he's got it. You think Richie Miranda is going to get knocked out by Manuel Sosa? In now looking back, I would tell you obviously not. Like, I mean, listen, Richie Miranda, I thought was just some guy. But as of what I've just seen, I think Manuel Sosa is one of the better prospects, or at least I did. We'll have to see how it ages, of course.
Yeah.
But Richie Miranda put up a damn good performance against this dude. I mean, this was a tough fight. Like, it wasn't a fight where I was worried Manuel was going to lose, but I was like, damn, he's showcasing with a little effort. You can make it tough for Sosa, and Sosa didn't ever he never. Obviously, the second round was rough. He didn't do shit. He got just wrestle fucked, whatever you want to say. He was not looking great. But the fact that he still continues to walk forward, he's got all this energy in the third round. He's still, I think, could have finished this fight in the third. He after he compromised his leg, I'm like, all right, we got a half a round left and then a whole third round. And it really just didn't amount to anything. So hopefully tape study and more progression through his career is gonna clear up something like that. But I think Richie Miranda is just that guy. Maybe, I mean, I think that potentially we're going to see Manuel Sosa still look very, very good. People are not going to be able to handle that pressure for 3 rounds. Not going to be able to show that toughness. But Richie Miranda will. That dude's got a fucking like an '80s pop star name or something. I don't know. That's it's lit.
True. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And I was looking on Twitter a little bit before this card, just kind of bouncing around, and I had seen a couple of people who I follow that are followers of the regional scene, and they were all talking about Miranda. They're like, look, if you don't know this name, like you got to realize that this guy is, he's as advertised as a dude who should be there, a guy that it makes perfect sense that he's jumping the line, that kind of stuff. Like, they really were riding for him. And I think that this all showed. I think it all really tracked. Again, the leg compromise, that's an unfortunate thing. I'm sure that there's conditioning that he can do. And maybe that's just, something that has to just get it adjusted for. But aside from that, I mean, I thought he won round 1 pretty easily. And then round 3, obviously he got dropped in round 2. That's a wash for him on that one. But round 3, I thought Sosa may have won round 3, but it was more off of optics than action. I mean, it wasn't that Sosa was landing crazy significant shots. It was really just that, it was obvious that Miranda was slowed down. He was on the defense, and Sosa, like you said, he just does not stop coming forward. So optically it looked better for him, but this wasn't like a knockdown drag out. Like, oh, he really put the stamp on him in round 3. It was just, you had one guy who was noticeably diminished and one guy who was not. So I really was very impressed with Miranda here. Sosa, we see a lot of guys who appear that they're going to be the next thing, and I do agree that the pressure that he puts on is going to work for him if he can continue a consistent offensive output on top of that, because you can't just keep going forward and not having the hands to back it up. He was putting that out there for a good amount of this fight, so I'm not too worried about that with him, but that just has to be a note going forward in general for him. If you're going to pressure that way, you have to be filling it with a bunch of strikes to make sure that it's effective. So I'm still, it remains to be seen as to how that's going to play out, but I do want to see Richie Miranda back in the organization, because I do think that he deserves it. I think that this really proved that, and I was very impressed.
No, absolutely. I agree. This was a pretty fun fight. I wouldn't say it was close to fight of the night, but I still think the girls were over this one, even with the round 2 of that first fight.
If
So
you have a chance to give the fight of the night to the women, it's like you throw a bone that way, I suppose, right? Because I mean, we see a lot of women's banger fights, and it feels like the community recognizes that they're bangers, but they don't really get the shine from the organization sometimes, especially not now that there's a heftier price tag attached to those bonuses.
yeah, absolutely.
What did you think of Manuel Sosa calling out Drew Dober?
I thought that was a really good call out, actually. I think it's a pretty big jump for where you're at in your career, but I think as a fan, I think he might be a fan, obviously, of the sport, because that's a really good call out, I think. I mean, that's 2 tanks that are just going to throw bombs, and if he doesn't get Drew out of there, Drew has the ability to get him out of there, so that's a really good matchup if he's able to pull that. I mean, again, this is a guy who has a knockout win over Mauricio Hufi. So if they want to get him back in the picture and get a rematch, Drew Dober might be the way through it.
Well, I mean, a little birdie told me that Drew Dober is looking for a fight, so I don't know if he's going to want to wait that long for the recovery time in a new camp for Sosa. But if he's okay with another couple weeks, month, whatever it is, to add to the wait time, then that very well could happen.
Absolutely.
So good deal. All right, next up, this fight here, dude, give me a fucking break. This is Louis Sutherland versus Jose Montana. I said, man, this fucking Louis Sutherland guy, how does this happen? And I want to give yet another shout out to our good friends over at the 10-7. Dino Bam Bam and DS over there at the 10-7 both picked Jose Montana, and I said, how? Well, off of what? What could have been the thought process going with a 41-year-old unknown guy? What?
We were tricked.
We were tricked?
Because this is not the 42-year-old guy. That's what the key is here. They had a last-minute replacement. This is not that 42-year-old guy. This is a 29-year-old guy who's on a 4-fight submission streak as of now. So I don't know where we got lost in the sauce,
We must
Um,
have then, yeah, because that is quite different than what we thought
so
coming into
yeah, and
this.
I remember thinking the same thing. It's like when I saw him, I'm not immediately thinking like, oh, wait a minute, that's some young guy. This dude might even he looks 42. I'm not even gonna lie. So that's why
Well,
I was a little
and
confused.
at heavyweight too, the extra weight rounds out the face. I mean, like it's hard to tell.
So obviously, I think people picking this guy makes total sense
Yeah,
against
now it
Louis
does.
Sutherland.
Yeah, I can't
Yes,
believe that we went down that path. Oh well, egg on us, I suppose. But really, back to the original point though, the answer back as to how they decided on who to pick in that fight was that Louis Sutherland sucks, and
yes.
that now becomes tremendously clear. So either way, regardless of who the opponent was, you know what I mean? Like it's a 41-year-old guy may have had a little bit more trouble than this guy did, but either way, the fact will remain that at its base, Louis Sutherland is the constant and not great.
Yeah, no, there's not even anything more to say about this one. Louis Sutherland, you're done, bro. You're so done. There's no, please do not. I would love, how in the moment where I'm trying to think, there was a time where they tried to book Jonathan Denise and Derek Lewis, and then I guess there was uproar, and then they, pulled that fight and changed it to something else. If Louis Sutherland gets another fight book, there needs to be a picketed riot outside the Apex. Like, do not let him come back, please. Like,
Yeah,
this is bad.
I mean, the last big note that I had about it was that once Montagna took his back and Sutherland gets flattened, the face crank was like not even fully
He
like
was like
locked
adjusting
in.
his fucking arms when the dude was
Bro,
tapping.
I
Like,
mean, this was like such a non choke. I mean, it was not a non submission win. Really kind of crazy that this could have been a submission. Granted, it's heavyweight, big arms, strong guys, whatever you want to say about that. But I can't imagine that was enough for any heavyweight to tap to it. But Sutherland, he did it, man. It's like I said, what an accomplishment for Sutherland. They couldn't find someone bad enough for him to win.
I just find it crazy. It's like you saw how this went for him right here. This is a guy that people genuinely thought was going to beat Walter Walker. So think about that, man. I don't know. Louis Sutherland, I really just have to ask if you're ever checking the show out, and I'm not trying to rag on you too bad, but like genuinely, how do you feel after putting up that performance like three different times? Like how, how like what was the like did you just there's just so many questions. I don't know, bro, and I'm sorry. Like I don't know what to tell you, bro, but like this was one of the worst performances, not on just this card, but like, we talk about the made me upset at the end of the year. Dude, this is up there.
Yeah, definitely keep that one in the back of the mind for sure. Yeah, it's one of those one. Now, I mean, granted, we'll have to see. Maybe Jose Montana becomes the next wave of great heavyweights, and it ages a little bit better over time. But in the moment, certainly does not look good. And yeah, back to the British Isles with you, mate. I think that's the only place Louis Sutherland's going.
Yeah, please get that stomach tattoo and go on.
Indeed. Brief shout out to the chat because I did see a couple more people coming in. Shout out to Carlos. Didn't get you before, brother, but appreciate you being here.
He said,
Johnny,
"Where's Thinker?" He's right here. He's right there. I see him.
I think it's because of this. Yeah, you got the
Oh, I
got the new
see.
cut. So yeah, I had to shave the sheep up top there. But yeah, shout out to Johnny the God. Very cool that Richie Miranda was replying to some of your tweets. That's awesome. And shout out to Meat Rocket coming in. Appreciate you as well, brother.
Absolutely. Meat Rocket, you're the man. And Johnny the God, you're also the man. Carlos, once again, dude, he's just right there. Don't worry about it. He's still there.
I know, same guy, new fresh look, new coat of paint.
Yes.
All right. Next up, another fight that bothered me. This is Dair Nergashai versus Bruno Lopez. Yet another fight that is going to make people believe that Dair Nergashai is actually good. He is sluggish. He is self-blinding. He is a lummox, and I hate watching him fight. Chase, your thoughts.
I thought it was unfortunate how this fight ended because, yes, it is going to give an impression that Dyer Nergashai is a quality light heavyweight. It's not even just about being good at this point. It's like proving that you could do something that other lightweights can do or light heavyweights can do very easily. And you're a striker. Like so the fact that he was, this fight was horrible up until the finish. There wasn't really much going on. Just a bunch of us questioning, is that guy that touches his eye? Yeah, no, that's him. No, for sure. Are you sure? No, it's him. Yeah, he's literally doing it right now. Like that's just basically all that was happening in my headset. And then the end of the round, I mean, he catches him, cool, knocks him. Bruno Lopez gets up, clearly feet just not under him ever again. And then he gets dropped kind of right at the bell. And I don't think this was the best stop. I mean, he got dropped twice, and the second time he got dropped, it was bad. But he was still there. It was just his legs didn't work. Like
Well, right. And
it wasn't a head thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, no, you're fine. But I was going to say that this goes into one of those like philosophical aspects of how you stop fights, right? Because as you said earlier, like he was somewhat out on his feet, but it was a long time to be out on your feet. So it's like, how much of him was actually still there? How could the referee truly know what was one or the other? Because there was a lot of discussion about this one in the chat. And of course, there being 1 second left on the clock or two or whatever it was certainly did not help matters. But as you always say, Chase, that should not matter. That was my
Correct.
point as well. That I think that is the exact right way to be. Doesn't matter if it's the first second of the fight or the last, you ref it the same. That aside, it is kind of a crazy deal here because yeah, I mean it was two things. It was not only the fact that he got dropped, but it was like this weird delayed reaction on the first drop, if you recall.
Yeah.
Like he kind of went down weird, like his like it sort of looked like the circuits got a little fried there, and Nurgashai actually landed a couple of decent follow-up shots as he was going down or as he was down at that point. Still seemed like he was there, but definitely hurt, and then he's back to his feet. He tries for his own takedown at that point. So it's like, how do you judge the level of the fighter as far as their mental acuity at that point? Like how much are they actually still there? It's hard for us outside of that frame of mind to really know. But I think that why I'm okay with it is because when you see that and it's questionable, then you see the uppercut that dropped him, which Pez dispensered his head straight backwards. I mean, like, it was a nasty uppercut that caught him. When you see him go down off of something like that, and that image is what you just saw beforehand, I think that it makes sense. I like, Kerry Hatley was the ref in this one. He is often a person that I am very critical of. I think in this case, I am okay with the way that this went down.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, fair play to him. He got his first knockout in the organization at light heavyweight, who's a striker. Um, I would, I'm going to be real, and this is not even far fetched to say, 100% the worst fighter from Kazakhstan that we have in the UFC. I mean, there's not a lot of them, but you can name at least four off the top of your head that are like light years beyond what this dude is, and it's crazy.
I hate watching this guy fight, dude. I
Mm.
like and I this is one of those weird cases for me, even because like I generally, we've talked about this. Right? We talked about it on the free for all, fighters that you don't like or whatever, that you have that feel. And like, I don't know Dair Nurgashai. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but watching this guy fight is like pulling teeth for me. I cannot stand it. I have never thought that he was of the caliber of this organization, really, truly. I mean, it feels like he's been like when we went over this fight last week, I was like, another setup fight almost. It's like, and I picked him to win. So I mean, I right, I think I did. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, we
Um,
definitely both picked Dyer Nurgashai for
so
sure.
yeah, so it's like, and I think I even said, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna win this fight, and it's gonna be another like booster fight for him. It's like I'm just waiting
Oh,
for
I'm
this
sorry.
guy.
We both took Bruno Lopez. I'm lying like a
Oh, no
motherfucker.
way, really? We both did?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, then there you go. That's the then that was probably the thought process, is that this was going to be the ceiling. We're still just waiting for the ceiling fight for him, but the ceiling is coming. I guarantee you it is.
What the most interesting thing is, when you look at Dyer Nurgashai, right, and he's fighting, you say he wipes his eye 24/7. It's not even that he just wipes his eye. He takes his thumb from his right hand over to his left eye and wipes it. And it's like, why don't just use your other hand? Like, I don't
I
know.
dude, I mean, the fact that there hasn't been anybody to time shots based on this tick is crazy to me right now. Like, if you know, for like, this was not a short notice fight as far as I know. If you know that you're fighting Dair Nurgashai, watch tape. All you
Mm.
have to do is watch the tape. He has a very defined tick that blinds him momentarily, consistently throughout the fight. Time your shots.
Yeah, this one was just a fight that happened, sure. I didn't really care who won this one, not going to care going forward. I just know Nurgashai is not very good from Kazakhstan, which is unfortunate because they're normally pretty decent.
Definitely not the great representative of that great nation, perhaps, but a person who is winning fights. So you're going to see him again. Just
Winning
wait.
fight,
I, well,
fight.
well, no, he's won before, hasn't he? Yeah,
Ah,
this is his second fight in the organization. He won his fight before.
dude, he did beat Rafael Tobias.
Yeah, Rafael
Holy
Tobias,
shit.
exactly. Absolutely. And if you remember, that fight was weird too. I mean, Tobias kind of sold that fight, but yeah. So I mean, again, dude, this guy is sticking around. He's gonna be here for a little while, so get used to this. Anytime that you see this guy booked.
No, absolutely. Yeah, so Johnny the God, of course, dropping 2 bars here. Dyer Nurgajai going to be average unranked fighter, obviously.
Yep.
100%. No debating there. And then the next one, the tick being worse than Diego Lopez is, I mean, it's pretty impressive. Navajo Sterling had a pretty bad tick with his face, but it's gone now, it seems. It
And
may come back if he gets like really flustered in a fight or something, but as of right now, he looks solid. So
And that's what Navajo is exactly what I was going to say. Navajo is a great example of somebody who recognized that it was a problem and could not be, was not going to be okay going forward. And he had to, I mean, I assume at least he had to commit to knowing that he had to stop that. That needs to happen for almost any fighter who has a tick as bad as Dair Nurgashai. Like, granted, Navajo Sterling's was a little bit different. It didn't fully blind him. I think he like touched his nose mostly. And Diego Lopez, he touches his throat. Yeah, I mean, not great, but still, it's not covering your fucking eyes. This is a tick that this dude needs to address immediately. Go to a sports psychologist or something, if or whoever the right person, a specialist. Go to a specialist to get this taken care of because this is very detrimental.
absolutely. Go to a hypnotist is my option.
There you go. He'll have you bark like a dog, cluck like a chicken, and stop ticking.
Absolutely. I love it.
There you go. All right. Well, either way, fine win, I suppose, and get ready for more down the line
Mm.
from Nurgashai.
All right. Speaking ready for getting ready for more.
Yes, indeed. Stephen Asplin, Mr. Concrete, fought Guilherme Pat. And, everything that I had kind of alluded to on the previous broadcast when we were doing our predictions seemed to ring true when it came to Pat. I swear to you that Guilherme Pat is big for nothing, bro. He is a natural heavyweight. He has an athletic build, but he just goes in there and cage hugs and very infrequently starts to strike until he feels like he is behind on the scorecards and then gets like a little bit of fire in his belly.
This you guys got to remember again, and I think they made a great point with this on commentary. I mean, Garry Pat is still very, very young in his career. Not everybody makes quick advancements. We may take a little bit to see him come around to what he's actually going to be like dominant at. Because again, the potential's there. I think the raw potential is something that you can hone in on here. He's got quick hands. He's got athletic size for like I mean, in a world, I mean, this could be Francis. The dude's built like a god. So I think it's important to just not think too much about it. He's fighting and he's actually dogging it out. He hasn't shown any signs that he doesn't want to be there. He's been dropped a few times, obviously in this one, because I think that's going to be his biggest struggle. I mean, this dude, his chin is just nothing, bro. He got dropped. The first shot that he got dropped with, it's like, oh shit, damn, how you get dropped by that, brother? And then the second one he got dropped with, it's like they didn't even like they did count it. Sorry, I was looking at Guillermo, but the second one that he got dropped with, you are thinking in your mind like, what in the world is your chin made of to get dropped by something like this, dude? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you pair that with the fact that he was very willing to accept position as well. Now, granted, of course, you've got huge Stephen Asplund and all of that pendulous skin of his covering you on the ground, making it very hard to move. I acknowledge that, but I mean, he got laid on for a little bit in one of those rounds, and I believe that was round one, and then round two after he got dropped. That's the second drop you're talking about there. Asplund chose not to go down with him. This is one of the rare exceptions because you know me, I'm always the guy that says stand him back up, stand him back up. He wasn't out enough to stand him back up appropriately to why I say that. That would have been one of the rare instances where I think that it would have been better for Asplund to go to the ground, especially considering that Asplund does have cardio issues. Now his cardio was better in this fight. I think he's made some improvements in this fight over last in the cardio department. He was able to go all 3 rounds. That was a big concern of mine, is if he was going to fade in the third. He did okay in the third, but I think that he could have gone to the ground, done exactly what he did in the later part of the first round, just laid on him for a while. He probably could have taken that round off of that, and then it wouldn't have been as up in the air in round 3 because I think it was 1-1 going into the third.
No, I think that as well too. It was 1-1 going into the third, and this is where we really got to see, Steven Asplin. He may not be, uh, he's a good striker, and he can go 3 rounds and he can strike for 3 rounds. That's good. He may not be the best when it comes to wrestling. We just really haven't seen that level to it yet. I mean, submitted by Denzel Freeman is not looking good on the resume, but he has improved since then. And he's willing to try different things. There was a point in the third round where I genuinely thought Steven Asplin was going to walk away with a standing fucking guillotine win on a Brazilian.
If he had finished that, that would have been insane.
It definitely would have been insane, but I think that's just to another point where it looked tight and it was under the chin, but Guillermo Pat, he got out of it, and that's the thing going forward. It's like, okay, he didn't just tap immediately, in any instance, third round, we're deep in a fight. He gets me in a choke. First instinct, damn, I gotta fucking, whatever the case may be. He did not do that. He got out of it when I really didn't think that he was going to. So I give him major props. He finished the fight. He showed toughness. He showed his ability to trade back, even though it wasn't as consistent as you want it to be. The power stood. He dropped Asplin, took a round off of him. What I said, I think Guillermo Pat is just the disciplined version of like Mario Pinto. Like I think that this is he's just an in shape version of him. It's just what I would say. Obviously he's not shooting for dumbass takedowns and just like being a bumbling fool like Mario Pinto. But Guillermo Pat, I think the ceiling is there. Like we can see that there's just more that can be attained. It's just not yet. I think it's just not yet. He may even stick around for a little longer than some other guys, and then he'll kind of shine later. But Asplin might lap him right now, and then in 2 years, maybe Guillermo Pat is still kind of making his way up. Like I don't know. It's interesting to say, but it wasn't the worst fight. This was also another. If there wasn't so much holding, it could have been fight of the night. So it's fine, good
Yeah,
enough.
no, I agree. I agree on all fronts with that. I mean, there is still time for Pat to improve, and hopefully he makes those adjustments. I would have liked to have seen them in this fight, but at this point now, you have two fights in the organization of record of where you need to improve. So you've got your work cut out for you there. Now go do it. Asplin is just a guy who does not quit, man. I mean, like he's a no quit kind of guy, which I very much appreciate. Sometimes his body won't allow him to do what his mind wants him to do, I would say, and that was the problem in the last fight. But this fight was a little bit more improved in that regard. So that was good. I did want to bring up the cut that we had talked about on the free for all because that is absolutely scar tissue, and that is absolutely going to open up every time he fights now. So just be aware that optically, Steven Asplund is going to have a little bit of a built-in hurdle that he's going to have to jump every fight because that gets touched right there. You saw the redness in the interview we were watching, and as soon as that got touched, it was already open. So I mean, he's going to be dealing with that throughout a lot of his career. But if he's aware of that and can let his output overcome the damage that he's going to inherently take, then there still could be more for him.
No, absolutely. And the post fight speech was also really good from Steven Asplin. I think this is a type of personality that is, when you see him, this is a guy who's just his true image. He's unapologetically himself, is what I would say, and it's very, very good to be that thing.
Yeah, he's a guy that you want to root for. He's very gracious. He's very very sincere in his in how he presents himself. You can tell that he means what he says. He's very grateful for the support, and he's overcome a good amount in his life. You like the story, you like the guy.
Well, the one thing that I said it in the Discord, and I think I wanted to bring it up on here. I want to hear your opinion about it, and I hope I don't sound a certain way saying it. Stephen Asplin, when he was in his post fight, he kept emphasizing the beautiful people out there. The beautiful such and such. It seemed like he's outwardly trying to give everybody else the feedback that he maybe doesn't necessarily feel about himself. And that didn't feel cool. I was like, dang, he's out here trying to give the positivity to everybody else that he maybe isn't getting for himself. And I was like, that's cool on him. If that's maybe not what it is, maybe I'm reading too far into it. I don't know, but that's just what it felt like to me. It was like it was a moment where you saw like a human there, like, oh, he has a past. He has and he wants to, do something different than other people, So,
Yeah, no, I think that that certainly tracks. Yeah, I mean, it might be a little, yeah, maybe a little bit armchair psychologist
yeah.
to an extent, but I don't think that you're off base though. And I mean, we know that that he kind of had struggled with his weight, obviously, and has overcome that. But it sticks with him. I mean, he's the first one to call himself the fat boy, titty boy, all the stuff that he calls himself. He's self-deprecating to an extent. There probably is a little bit of insecurity there, I would say. But this is exactly why he goes out there and tries as hard as he does, and he wins people over the way that he fights, and with being a cool person. So even if there is like everybody's got their little hangups about
Mhm.
themselves or whatever. So I mean, I think that that's just inherent to people. If this is how he kind of overcomes that and makes everything okay in his own mind, then keep doing what you're doing because it's working out. And I think that he is coming to find more and more over time how much support he has out there.
And I will say it once again, I do want to try to make it a regular thing. If anytime Steven Asplin comes up and it's a different show and I haven't said it before, I do believe there's a possibility that this dude could be inspiring to a lot of people who are struggling with their weight. Some people, maybe more than others, don't want to enter this phase of their life, after they have unfortunately gained a lot of weight, and what to do after that point. What do I do to remedy the situation that is going to be an ever longing factor of my health? Stephen Asplin took the leap. He lost all the weight. He started to do something that he was passionate about. Now you can look at him and see an athlete. I mean, think about what being overweight means in any sport, really. I mean, you're just not an athlete. You're just not an athlete if you're overweight and fat. It's like, I mean, you're gonna have to figure some shit out. You're gonna have to get in shape. Stephen Asplin, listen, he was that, and now he's this, and I think it's just very key to just take a look at what humans can do. You're never just counted out. You're never out of the race. Everything's a marathon. He's late to the game when it comes to the athleticism portion of it, and it's looking great for him. I appreciate him.
No, I think that's a great point as well. Is like, it's one thing to lose the weight, that's its own battle. And with the amount of weight he had to lose, that certainly was a battle. And good on him for uh, you
Lost
know,
a whole heavyweight fighter.
that's I mean, think about that. That's just an insane thing to be able to say. So, obviously that's an amazing achievement in and of itself, but that doesn't necessarily take care of all of the mental aspect of things. So you make a very good point with that even if you have done that, there can still be lingering, issues with body image and things like that. He can be a very good role model to people who are trying to go down that same path, not only in the actual act of losing the weight, but how you live your life thereafter as well. So I think you make a good point.
And the last point, of course, just to make a little light of it, if you are out there struggling getting that whole Guillermo Pat weight off of you, just look at Steven Asplin, and he was able to do it not once but twice in the fight, and then a couple years prior. So there you go.
That's right. And Stephen Asplin, yet another person who has an open invite to the free for all. So we would love to come talk to you and give you the floor to spread the message because we're supporters.
Absolutely.
All right, good deal. Well, that brings us to the main card here, moving right along. Starting off this thing, Billy Ray Goff fought Ty Miller. I mean, look, this was a fine win for Ty Miller. Some interesting elements to how this all played out. I was not as maybe I was not as impressed with Ty Miller as I was hoping to be. And I mean, in the end, he obviously did what he needed to do. I think that, because I hear you sometimes, Chase, saying, oh, this could have been over in the first round or whatever like that. This was a fight to me that, like, after seeing it all play out, especially on rewatch, I was like, Ty Miller, like, all he needed to do is what he did in round two earlier in the fight, and this probably could have been done a lot quicker.
Yeah, he's definitely the type of dude that likes to just go out there and punch people. He doesn't. It's funny enough. I have always questioned people who say they love to fight. I love fighting. And then they're like Hamzat, who have like an average fight time of 2 minutes. It's like, well, you must not love fucking fighting that much if you just finish everybody so quick. Obviously a joke, but Ty Miller just must love fighting. He doesn't want it to stop. I just want to be in there punching him up, doing my thing. It's weird because he is very accurate. He is very technical. The power, maybe, but with accuracy and a little bit of pizzazz, I mean, that can do a lot to some people. So for him to just beat the hell out of Billy Ray Goff, I mean, bad matchup for Billy, of course. This was definitely feeding. This was Ty Miller's moment to just showcase all the fancy hands that he has. Threw one fucking leg kick the entire time, just only hands, just straight hands only. That's fine, but we've seen this before. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you saw, Ty Miller has said that Carlos Prates would be a matchup that he really wants to have happen eventually, which cool. So it's a very big jump right now, but I agree. I see the vision,
Mhm.
but we've seen, we Carlos Prates, similar dude. Like he was getting people that weren't very good to start, and like we knew. Well, but they probably knew that he was a lot better than these people, and he was going to finish them. Fucking Tristan, not him. Oh fuck, I forget it. God damn, it's gonna kill me. Giles, maybe.
Oh,
Anyway,
Trevin Giles, yeah.
there we go. I think that's a dude that he got to beat the hell out of, but I could be wrong. Either way, so this is a normal step for a prospect who is a gunner, really. Like they're going to give you a guy that you're going to get to beat the hell out of. Now, just make sure you actually do it. I think this one is an interesting circumstance because, in Ty Miller's first fight, he got that stop, and the ref kind of stepped in, stopped letting him beat the hell out of the person. Now we're in this situation where he beat the hell out of the dude so bad that the coaches are like, "Yo, you can't take another punch, Billy. You cannot. You gotta just take no damage for the rest of the fight." Like that was their goal. Is one whole round. I need you to just don't
Run.
let anything
Just
happen.
fucking run. I mean, like hearing what they were saying, we didn't really hear. I mean, maybe I missed it because it was, I'm doing the watch along. I might have been talking to the chat, but on the VOD, they edited a little bit differently on the replay, and you could hear the corner a little bit better during that. And to hear them saying basically like you got to just evade, like you just got to essentially run away. Like, I mean, that is a wild thing to hear from a corner. I mean, corner telling Goff just to survive is very concerning. I said, and I kind of agree with DC. I mean, DC was saying, they should have just stopped it if it was at that point. And of course, obviously that's not how the sport operates or any of these guys are going to operate. And shout out to Goff for not quitting on himself. I don't know if you noticed he had to tell Jason Herzog was the ref in this one. Herzog kind of consulted with him before the round started. He's like, "You good?" And he was like, "Bro, I'm not stopping." And Herzog was like, I know. Okay, we're gonna start." So it's like he was not giving up on himself, and I appreciate that. But if you know that you're done, your corner knows that you're done, and everybody who's watching knows that you're done. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're done.
Yeah, it was definitely an unfortunate beatdown. There was a lot of people on Twitter, normalized throwing in the towel. Eh, I personally wouldn't have a problem if we started to see that more. It obviously ruins the flow. It's like, oh, damn, because it could happen at a moment that you really don't think it should, whatever you want to say. Billy Ray Goff came in here, took his ass whooping. Sometimes that's just, you're not going to win every fight. You're not always going to have the circumstance where you're going to come in here and win a fight. It's how you lose is what makes people fans of you. And I'm not going to say I'm a huge Billy Ray Goff fan because honestly, I think this is another dude who changes his look up way too much. Like I didn't even recognize him when he came in here. This is not what he looked like last time, is it? I don't know. But either way,
The mullet's a little bit shorter this time, I think.
either way, Billy Ray Goff came in here. The chips were against him. He's going against some prospect killer, and it just had to happen that way, bro. I mean, you made it 2 rounds. Now the next guy's got to make it 3. That's the craziest part here. So
Yeah.
shout out to him for stepping in there with a killer.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like you were talking about with Miller. I mean, once he did, that first round was a lot of clinching from Goff, and what I said to that was, it's like if you're gonna do that, I mean, he advances a whole lot. We were talking about this with Manuel Sosa a little bit, where I was saying like if you're gonna put the pressure on him, you got to be capitalizing on that pressure. That's Billy Ray Goff's biggest problem I saw in that round one. I mean, he's putting all this pressure on, he's clinching him up, he's doing all of this and that, trying to impose his will, but he's not actually capitalizing on those activities. So it's like you're doing a lot of work for no return, basically. And then once Miller did start getting his striking going, man, I mean, this guy does have some clean hands, dude. Had Goff backing up consistently, accurate lands. You were talking about that. It's like it really, the power is almost secondary when you're landing as much as he was, because it's like even if the power is not like crazy knockout shots every time, if you're doing good, solid, hard shots over that extended an amount of time, it was only a matter of time. And then the biggest note that I have to that point was in round 2, with 1 minute left in the round, they showed the graphic of the striking differential, 59-9 for Miller when it came to the strikes. It was like, bro, this guy is so toast at this point. So it was only a matter of time. He obviously got it done very quickly in round 3. So shout out to him. I mean, it was a fine win. Do it a little bit quicker. And you make a good point as well. He might still be coming into it. More fights down the road could be a lot better for him.
I think what I'm questioning, Ty Miller, great offense, great offensive striking. One thing I'm starting to learn more, or at least I want to try to be more open to, is understanding this is Ty Miller as the hammer. Let's find out what he is as the nail, and we'll see how it goes from there. Because you put Ty Miller up against any of the other strikers, I mean, it's like, okay, he's got a strict traditional kind of boxing style for MMA. Well, Carlos Prates has got that Muay Thai. I mean, do we think his boxing is as good as Carlos Prates' Muay Thai? I mean, it's inherently going to have more weapons than him. If Ty Miller is only going to box, I mean, he's going to get chewed up other places, and or he's going to have to showcase more evolution in his game than we've seen so far. He's going to have to just pull that shit out his ass, like so. Right now, I mean, at welterweight, you have a lot of like Ian Garry, for example, a very good defensive striker. I mean, he'd stay on the outside and just low kick the shit out of Ty Miller. He's going to be out of his punching range because he's going to lead with the kicks, So I don't see Ty Miller just walking in and just getting this thing done. Like, what if he gets walked down? Have we seen him strike on the back foot? I don't know yet. Ty Miller is good walking forward, throwing strikes for 3 rounds. Who's going to be able to have that threat where it's like, okay, we don't have round 2 and 3 for him to just keep going? Who's going to have that first round ability to put him on the back foot and make him worry that this fight is not going to last much longer, and he's going to have to prove that he's going to be the one to finish it, So it's going to be interesting going forward. I do really like Ty Miller because I think he's kind of got that plant vibe too, like a John Paul Labozniani. He doesn't have the name value for it, but I feel like Ty Miller came in under the radar. He was the first dude to get the contract last season, so he might be. Listen, he's from the USA. Looks a little Latino to me. He might be Dana's favorite. I don't know, over at the PI. That's all that I'm saying here. He does look strangely young in the face. I don't know why he said it looks like a 14-year-old was beating up Billy Ray Goff, and I just laughed so hard because it's kind of true.
That actually leads me right to my next point. Truth or fiction, Ty Miller looks like a funhouse mirror version of Mario Bautista.
That's who it is, dude. It is Mario Batista. Exactly, dude. Oh, I'm glad you noticed. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So, either way, good deal for him here. Certainly a good start to everything. And on the Goff side, I see the chat. I see you guys out here saying, he needs a new coach. That's one of those hard ones. We were just talking about Anthony Smith recently, and we watched the MMA on Point video with Anthony Smith on stream recently, and Anthony Smith was saying, anybody on my team who's thinking about throwing in the towel, they can get the fuck out. I won't have them on my team. I'm quitting. I'm not going to be working with you, whatever. Like, is that who's right? You know what I mean? Like, what mentality, I guess, is correct? Because if Goff is saying, I'm not going to quit, I'm going to go back in there regardless, and the team is just like, okay, well then if that is how you're going to conduct yourself, then this is what you have to do to survive to the horn. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, how do you rationalize all of that? I guess is my question. If you're thinking that he needs a new team.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because he definitely needed it. I mean, we all know, he knew, everybody knew that he was getting whooped, but the thing about this sport is it's not about it's 100% not about quitting on yourself. That's what it really comes down to. It's not about the outside factors should never matter because you step in the cage, it's man, you're in your underwear. It's you versus another person. The coaches they should have no say in what's going on. The ref, I mean, that's his job. He's got to stop you from hurting yourself. But the ref at the end of the day, the coach at the end of the day, listen, the fighter, he's in there doing his thing. You should not be able to get to stop the fight for him, is what I would say.
And it brings back up the point that we talked about on McGregor forever. I mean, this is another one that rings true. It's funny how often that's getting referenced nowadays, but a couple of good points referenced in there. And McGregor said, at the end of the day, I am the fighter. Like, at the end of the day, it's me in there. Like, all of the surrounding stuff it's the things that hopefully will enable me to be the fighter that I want to be. But at its core, it is me, and I am guiding this ship. I have to, because it's a solo sport. So, I think that tracks to what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a fun fight. I mean, it wasn't really much of a fight. It was a fun performance from Ty Miller, is what I would say.
Sure, yeah, and I mean, compared to some of the other stuff that's, on the main card that we'll talk about in a little bit, this was definitely on the better side, I would say.
Absolutely.
All right, well, next up, this was also, I thought, decent. This was Amanda Lemos versus Alexia Thainara. Thainara wins by unanimous decision here. I said that it was nice of the UFC not only to let Thainara fight with her emotional support animal, but also to keep it on her head for the entire fight. That that hairstyle is something else, dude. It has to be. It has to be mentioned. I mean, I don't know what you'd call that, but she's got the mohawk in the front with the blonde tuft. She's got cornrows on the side, also blonde, and then black in the back. You know, it's just a. It's like several hairstyles all kind of converging together.
But I wouldn't, but you wouldn't say that it doesn't fit her.
Her
Like,
personality, no, it definitely does fit.
I mean,
Yes.
she doesn't look out of place with it. Like, she looks like a normal person. It's like you look at her hair and it's like, oh yeah, that's just her hair. It's not like, what the fuck does she got? We've seen like the what the fuck they got going on. Like, this is like we know that's just how she rocks her shit. I don't know. It's unique. It is something. But I mean, that's maybe more talking than I think I'll do about the whole fight right there, because there was really nothing. I mean, listen, Sayonara is good. We knew this. Lemos, for what it is, she is the type of person that, from what I've seen, she will get the fight back to the feet eventually, and then she has decent power to back that up. But that's about where the list ends. She will get taken down. She will get walked across the cage, but she will eventually, it'll be back where she needs it to be, and she might be able to land a good shot. Which she ended up did, late in this fight. But Sayonara is just too good. She's just the prototype of what we're expecting out of a prospect now. Like, she is really, really good. She's really efficient. She listen. Look at the striking number, 199 for 246. I mean, she doesn't really whiff much. She goes in there and she gets her shit done. And Lemos, for what this fight was, she didn't really. I mean, that late shot, I was always thinking like, oh, she could land it, she could land it. But anyway, the biggest takeaway on the story is that we got to see Amanda Lemos rub down on herself for like 5 minutes in this fight. That shit was pretty. It was pretty risque, if I were.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, knee to the cooch stops the action for Thainara there. I said you can't be out there smacking clams, Alexia. You gotta, gotta control your weapons a little bit. But yeah, Amanda Lemos took it like a champ. That was certainly an aspect of this thing. What I say about it, Lemos, really, it's kind of unfortunate to me because I said it's a shame that Lemos isn't elite. And what I mean by that is that she
she
has
was at a time. She's still. I mean, elite.
That's
Yeah,
almost, she was like one of those ones right on the cusp of like true greatness, I think. And it's unfortunate because like her striking is clean and powerful when she actually is enacting it. She really could have been one of the greats if she was a little bit more well-rounded, I said, and because like really, I think body type tracks for that, power level tracks for that. I think ultimately her fight IQ tracks for that, even if, at this sort of advanced stage, she's not able to enact the game plan how she might want to. Like, I think that she had the raw elements there. It never converged to be a full picture, or, the puzzle that she was creating. So it does suck because Dayanara just outworked her in this fight through most of it. And in the moments that she did turn up, it was she had a couple good connections and stuff, but it just was never enough to fully overtake, even when she had Alexia kind of rocked at a certain point there.
you make great points. I think the main point that I would like to say is Dayanara put up so good of a performance, so dominant of a performance. There really isn't anything to say about it. I mean, nothing really to improve on, girl. I mean, you went out there and did that shit. You basically did what Wei Lee did, is you just made Lemos your bitch. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. Lemos, again, credit to her. She found that shot late in the fight, and any other timeline, maybe it flattened her. I don't know. But in this one, it didn't. And Thayanara, this is the second time late in the fight that she took a big, massive shot. That last fight against Bruno Brazil, guys, she got kicked in the fucking face like hard
True.
as shit in the third round, and she had no problem with it. So Thayanara, she has a lot of energy, is what I would say. And after the fight, she's still hopped up. She's dancing her way out of the cage. Like, she is somebody who genuinely, when they say like, "Oh, I could go another fight," it's like, I mean, she just went 15, and she might be able to go do another 2 rounds. I don't know
I
about another three, but two
Uh,
probably.
no, you're absolutely right on all fronts. Dancing her way to the cage, fighting a full fight, dancing her way out of the cage. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about cardio and work rate for her and durability, as you said. We said earlier in the stream, man. The next wave of this sport is created for us in real time. And I would say that she's on that.
Yeah, I think this is again Brazilian women, guys. They know what's up sometimes. I don't know what be going on down there where they be fighting so much, but they be getting it done. So shout out Dayanara. Once again, another Brazil versus Brazil matchup. Love it. God damn, I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, great deal. And, I mean, keep your eye on her because I would say that it may not be like a rocket ship, but it's certainly like a jetpack that she's got on her back here. She's doing some really good work early, I would say.
It just feels weird that she doesn't have more hype. I feel like she has decent hype if you know, but like she could have the same hype Eileen has. She
She's
literally
got to
shaked
finish
it.
her fights. That's what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
fair play, fair play.
Yeah. But good deal. I mean, still, but we're paying attention. So go out there and do that.
Yeah.
Now, speaking about finishing your fights here, of course, this was the retirement of one Darren the Damage Elkins, and he fought Yadier Del Valle. And this went about as we were going to think that it was going to. I want to give a very special shout out to our friend Bloomis, because Bloomis was in the chat for the watch along for this, and he stayed up very late. Bloomis, of course, from Denmark. He stayed up very, very late into the evening to watch this fight. Fan of Darren Elkins. He, he wanted to put some money down on Darren Elkins. He was really, saying, oh, this is going to be the way he's going to go out is going to be victorious. He had so much riding on this because of his fandom of Darren Elkins. And it was a little bit of a heartbreaker moment here. But unfortunately, unlike Robbie Lawler, Elkins did not get the fairy tale ending for his career. And he kind of got the get out and don't come back treatment. So,
whatever the performance was from Yadier, who cares? He landed a good shot. Darren Elkins got punched. We knew that was going to happen. It is unfortunate that, I haven't seen too much of Darren Elkins. Now, the last fight that I saw him, I was like, okay, I can see why people would be a fan of this dude, kind of deal. He just gets his ass whooped and never stops, kind of deal. This fight was unfortunate because going out, you would believe, we always talk about everybody deserves equal treatment. In this moment, you would think they would have gave the heads up, like, don't fucking stop that fight. Unless he's dead, then you stop the fight for Darren Elkins. It's his retirement fight. This is what he does. He's got it tattooed on his chest, so you got to let him go for it. And the fact that I feel like they didn't even fucking attempt to give him, like, they wanted him gone. Like, they were like, oh, he's knocked out. Get on. Go, 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 go. Like, this was pretty bad here.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I saw you and our pal CTE chatting about that in the Discord, and I see it from both sides because on the one hand, basically the sequence went down that like he got hit, he goes down like a sack of bricks, but as he's on the ground, it did look like he had come back a little bit and was going for the legs. You can't go down like that and expect not to get it stopped, though. And I agree with I hear what you're saying.
Control that. What you
can't. I mean, it's not like you can control it or not. You took the shot, though. I mean, like, it is what it is, and like, because you think about it from that perspective. It's like you're saying, oh, it's his retirement fight. They should let it go on longer. The other is also true. This is you fall limp as a dude at this age in a retirement fight. It's like if we don't stop it now, this dude might actually legitimately get injured beyond repair here. So, I mean, it's like you kind of have to weigh both of those options. And yeah, I can understand letting it go a little bit longer because he was looking like he was coming back. He also did seem like he was pretty upset when the stoppage happened. If you notice, he was kind of brief. You didn't get to see a good clear shot of it, but like once he did call it off, he was kind of like he like hit the ground kind of thing. So obviously, this is a guy who wanted to make this a little bit more of a special moment than it actually ended up being because of the stoppage. But I was not super upset with the stoppage, having seen the last several Darren Elkins fights at this point. I mean, this really is the tail end of his career, whether he wanted it to be or not. So sometimes it be like that. He even said that himself, basically. It's like, yeah, not the way I wanted it to go out, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I actually listen. Hearing his post-fight speech, I felt bad for him. It's like, damn, this dude really wanted to die tonight. Like he was ready to get his ass whooped, But it is just how the sport goes, unfortunately. I think it was John Anik. Somebody tweeted, maybe it was a video or something. I said, it's like, this is the unfortunate reality of the sport. The old get put out by the young, like that's just what it is. And Yadier Del Valle, if you are out there listening, I did just put out a video, shout out to the PWR. Yadier Del Valle is definitely the center of focus on that one, but this just adds to his story as well. This dude goes through the whole fight fixing thing. and then he gets upset, by Jordan Leviat, and now he's back. He's gonna retire Darren Elkins now, but the ref's gonna ruin it for him. So I don't know. There's just who did the Cubans pay this time? Was it Kerry? I don't know, brother. But either way, this one I do believe that it was semi Kerry's fault because Kerry, one, he has this way to just never be in the shot, which credit to him. The ref shouldn't, I should never notice the ref, but you should be doing your job and you should just be invisible. You shouldn't be across the fucking cage where so he gets dropped. And by the time Kerry runs over there, because he's an old man, he's got to gallop over there kind of deal, and he breaks the fight up. Darren Elkins is already back. Like, he's already back trying to get up. And it's like, well, bro, if you were actually in the fucking action, you could have been, oh, he's there, okay, I don't have to like just run in here, feel like I'm late as shit. So I don't know, it was interesting, but it does just add to the story of Yadier Devay, of like this dude's career being just nothing of non-interest. I don't know, is what I would say.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird and wacky in his career early on in it, which is interesting, and it also kind of muddies the waters as to like how you perceive him, because what have we seen? We saw him win one, I believe, before the Dolgarian fight. Then the Dolgarian fight happened, so that's a bit of a wash. Then he loses one to Jordan Levitt, so that's now you have to consider that. Actually, I know that he had won one because he'd won it by submission, which is rare
Yes.
for him. It's kind of, he's more of a striker, so like you're getting a jumbled picture here, is I guess what I would say to this. It's like, if you look at it on paper, it's like, oh, he's got subs, he's got knockouts. I mean, this must be a well-rounded guy, but does this actually prove that, I guess, is what I'd say. So it's a little bit tough, but we'll see how Del Valle continues to progress and whatnot. RIP to his coach. He did, have a heartfelt message to his coach who passed away after the win. And then, of course, Darren Elkins, very gracious and very heartfelt in his retirement speech. I thought it was interesting that they aired his video package before the fight. That was a little bit unique. Usually it's after the fight and they let him watch it, but they didn't do that in this case. They aired the video package prior to the fight, and then he had a nice little time on the microphone, all appropriate for a retiring fighter of his stature. You could tell how much it meant to him. And I said, thanks a lot for everything, Darren Elkins. You had a great career, even if it was a little bit rocky towards the end.
I think the biggest thing for me is that Yadier Devaye, mentally, this dude has his gauge for the sport, or the UFC, I would say, is interesting because he came in here and again he beats Dolgarian and he thought he was, hey, I just beat him, I just beat the guy. That was your guy. I just choked him out.
Listening back, yeah, if you have not heard or seen the new video that Chase just put out, definitely go watch that. But I was watching it a little bit before the stream, and hearing us talking about it, yeah, he really did. Like, it reminded me of, like, he really thought that was a win-win. He was like, man, I really did that shit.
So when he gets upset by Jordan Leviat, it's like, damn, I really wasn't that. The gay dude just put me out, kind of deal.
It's
Like,
not
you know,
gay.
so emotions going crazy, and now he gets this first round knockout against supposedly what he's believing. I'm just a guy from Cuba, and now I'm in the UFC against what they say is the toughest dude ever. This is the dude who's never fucking quit. I just beat him in one fuck. I left him lifeless, brother. This is just not going to go well for him again. I
You
just
think
feel
that
bad.
it's pumping up his ego? You think he's getting a big head off of this?
I don't think that, like, inherently that, like, oh, he's super cocky, he's super arrogant, because I don't believe that at all.
Right.
But, like, how could you not? This is who the UFC just set you up with. I just watched his retirement video before the fight. Hey, he done been here for 20 years. He done put on all this. He
Second
wanted
longest streak, second longest win streak in the division for a while there.
so I think it is wrong to assume that he's going to be like, all right, let me chill out, because he knocked Darren Elkins out and he got on top of that cage flexing, brother. He was, oh man, fucking God, I'm good. It's like, I just don't see this going well for him again. I hate to say it because it ain't his fault. He did nothing wrong. He just celebrating a win, but like, hopefully he realized I just got one on that night. I got one, because that ain't happening probably in the next couple, because the way that he knocked him out was so effortlessly. I mean, it was, they got into a little clinch. Okay, they broke. Boom, right hand knocked him out, and then he gets to go on with his career and have a positive mindset. But once again, Jordan Leviat was the dude who took all the life out of him. So next fight, we'll have to see who it is, man, because I'm worried for him.
Well,
Damn.
that's what I hope. Two things. I hope that having the Levitt fight kind of keeps him a little balanced. And then secondly, and I think also, kind of piggybacking off of what we were talking about prior when it comes to what the role of your team is, I hope that his coaches are keeping him grounded. You know what I mean? I hope that the coaches are kind of keeping it in perspective here to not let him, let his head kind of float off into the atmosphere. I mean, he's got to be, understanding of what all of this actually means in the big picture, and keep his feet on the ground, because he could let it get away from him, and that would be his own undoing, which would be unfortunate.
No, absolutely. And shout out Johnny. Poor Elkins got slammed down in front of his family, and Devaye celebrating as if he beat Marab. Dude, I think that is just, it's gonna be great to see how he bounces back. Because there's nothing that he said. He doesn't act a certain way, but there's just like a stigma. It's like, all right, well, he just beat the guy again. I think it is very important. It's like he's maybe, and I could be wrong, and I'm just assuming, making a story out of it for myself, of course, for the viewers out there. He don't know what the fuck be going on in the UFC. He don't know who Darren Elkins is, but I'm watching a promo package right now, and it says that he's the best. He says he's one of the best in the thing. I'm gonna beat him, and then I'm gonna be the best in the thing at that point. So I think, I feel bad for him, because I think it's a bad position for him to be in with all there's no expectations either. It's like he's coming in here and nobody's really thinking like, oh, this dude's gonna be the best. He's gonna do this. It's like, no, he just ends up being in these situations where you have to question what exactly is gonna be the real story here. So
Well, I will go with Bleeding Edge's more level-headed take. He's going to be checked hard, but should be okay as long as he doesn't embrace the false hype. Exactly. Let him not
mm,
embrace the false hype. Let his team guide that process a little bit. And to respond to Johnny there, Del Valle versus Johnny Vasquez. No, Johnny Vasquez versus a guy who lost on the Contender Series, and they bring it anyway. That's what
true.
Johnny Vasquez deserves at this point.
Yeah, and he deserves a fight at his real weight class, which is bantamweight.
Yeah, fucking A. I mean, like, absolutely. So yeah, we'll see what they end up actually doing with that. But either way, like I said prior, shout out to Darren Elkins. As a person who was here for a little bit more of his career, I've always been a big fan of his, and I appreciate everything that he brought to this sport in his time. It certainly was time to quit. I think that you made the right choice in doing this. Do not come back to fighting. Stick to your guns on that, and have a great rest of your life. Go raise your kids. I mean, he was very adamant about being a good father in his in the post fight, and wanting to set a good example for his kids. And I'll go do that. That's exactly what you can
Absolutely,
do. Yeah.
100%. And don't
Uh,
let no Cubans around him, because Jesus.
well, all right. Maybe a little bit strong, but perhaps. But Viva Cuba for our dude Del Valle out here, and all my Cubanos here in the great state of Florida.
No, hell yeah, I'm joking. Let the Cubans around him.
There you go. All right. Well, that takes us to the co-main event of this thing. I thought that this was such a very weak co-main event on paper, and in practice, it certainly ended up being that as well. This is Diego Fajeda versus Billy Quarantillo. Yeah, I mean, that's like, again, for an otherwise really solid Apex card, this was a decent scrap, but this was really just two mid-level guys duking it out to a decision. And unfortunately, that doesn't equal up to like a fireworks co-main event on an otherwise, pretty decent card overall, I thought.
Can I tell you something crazy? And I don't know
Sure.
if you're going to believe me, and I don't know if you knew this already. This got fight of the night.
You gotta be kidding me. Really?
Yep.
That is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, bro, yeah, was it competitive? Yeah, but between two
It was the
aged
Unkoff.
guys,
It was
yeah,
the
it was an
Unkoff, bro.
uncoff. I mean, like this is I cannot that's absolutely insane, dude. I'm telling that there needs to be an investigation as to how they're giving out these motherfucking bonuses, bro.
There's got to be like a definite, like, you have to pass some checks in your fight. There's got to be boxes checked in the fight for you to make the fucking bonus. Like, I don't know, but this one, real one long round. I mean, it says
Yeah.
30-27, and I don't doubt it. But Diego really didn't look that fucking good, and neither did Billy. And I knew Billy wasn't going to, because I just saw him get smoked by Cub Swanson, and I figured that Diego was going to do the same smoke job. Unfortunately, I kind of just overlooked that, like, Cub Swanson has like his own style. He's got his own thing. It's hard to just go out here and just do the same thing that he does, because he does it different. Diego Fajeda, just an old guy, man. He shaved his beard, I guess, and it made him look a lot older or something. He came out here, and I lost the faith in him. I was like, this is a guy that I knew was like not at the prime age of his life. Billy Q, somebody I knew who was not very good, in my opinion. I mean, somebody out there might be the biggest fan of him, and they'd love to see him in this co-main event, and this was their fight of the night. Sure, for me personally, I don't even remember one thing that happened here. Like this was just two dudes who just they had a fight. Sure.
Yeah, well, no, because I mean, like, look, what you could say is, oh, Fajeda was up for most of this fight, but Quarantillo wouldn't quit. Like he was taking damage. He wasn't given a ton, but he was taking a ton, and kept going. He kept pushing forward. He was like emoting even as he was getting touched. That's great. Billy Ray Goff just did the same fucking thing, basically. I mean, like, he's taking a ton of damage. He was trying his hardest out there to stay in the fight, even though that ended up being a finish. This didn't end up being a finish. How could this computing this as fight of the night really is like making my head do backflips over here. But what I say about this fight, in summation, you have Fajeda, who is 41 years old. He's been in the organization since 2014, fighting at 37 years old, or fighting a 37-year-old, excuse me, fighting 37-year-old Billy Q, who is a plus 600 when it comes to days removed from the sport. He's been out of the sport for 600 days plus. He's fighting like he's a 45-year-old. Fajeda is 41 years old and it's still an NPC in this sport. To be perfectly frank about this thing, this is the quintessential definition of an inconsequential fight. I mean, like, to have this as the co-main event and then give it fight of the night, I cannot believe that tracks. This is like, yeah, it just doesn't. It does not compute.
Yeah, chat, you might have to fact check me on that, but I am almost certain that this got fight of the night for some reason. I don't know why. But
I think somebody might have been memeing on Twitter. I think that has to be it, right?
I would hope so. Honestly, I would hope so. But two veterans, I don't know, two unks, maybe he did want to just throw him some cash. Who knows? This was just not a good fight. There's just not really anything that I would like to say more about it. I mean, what am I going to go forward with the information on this? It's like, oh man, Diego's going to be great in this next one. Or, oh man, Billy Q's going to be great in this next one. Like, they both probably will lose their next one based on this performance.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's exactly what I had said on our predictions episode last week about Billy Q. I've seen him lose many, many times now at this point. If he feels like he's on the tail end of his career, whether he is or not, and that's not a great position to be in. Diego Fajeda, a person who has been around. I mean, he's 20-7, so obviously got a good amount of wins under his belt. Still feels like an NPC to me, and a guy that when you see the name, it's like, oh, okay, Diego Fajeda's fighting. Nothing really sticks out. Nothing comes to mind. And this is a fight that really exemplified that on all fronts. So I also really have not too much else to say about this one. I think it is very unfortunate that this was the co-main event, considering that this was an otherwise good card. I think that you could have pretty much picked any other fight on the main card and slotted it in as the co-main event and had a better card overall.
No, absolutely. You're 100% correct. This being the co-main event, criminal, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever, indeed. It was the co-main that it was, and Diego Fajeda gets the win. So congratulations for your unanimous decision, 30-27s across the board, I guess.
Yeah.
But that is just the appetizer for the main course, which of course is the main event. It is Mateusz Gamrot versus Quillen Salkilld, and thank God this turned out to be what it was, because man, I want to say that Dan Hellie said it correctly on commentary when he was talking about this after it was over. Or actually, no, before it started. He said this is an elevator fight for Quillen. It could be, he was saying, oh, this could be an elevator fight. And I said, that is exactly what it was for Quillen. Quillen took that, elevated his status, and turned it into an absolute masterclass for himself. This was such a beautiful performance when Quillen Salkilld, on top of all of the other great performances that he had. But this one's different because this is the one that really set him into the next echelon. This really proved that he is a person deserving to be at the highest levels of the sport at this point. This is a household name, Mateusz Gamrot, a dude who a lot of people thought was going to be the guy who's going to check him and really test him in a way that he hadn't been tested before. Quillen ended up not only overtaking all of that, but beating him at his own game. I mean, this is a dude who, he said, you're going to wrestle? I'm going to wrestle. You want to try to strike? I'm going to strike. I mean, he really met him toe to toe and bested him in all fronts. I thought this was fantastic for Quillen Salkilld.
Yeah, he made it look easier than it ever should have. I mean, Charles had to actually work for it a little harder. Not to say it was, easy for Quillen. I mean, it was, but I mean, he had to work really hard for this, but it wasn't as hard as we've seen other people work to even get a decision with Gamrot. Quillen made it look, I mean, just it's crazy because Gamrot, again, this is somebody who doesn't get finished when it's the grappling. I mean, he is very, very good. He knows how to scramble. He knows how to get out of stuff. It just was not this night. And now, if I want to make excuses, if I want to cope and I want to have excuses, and I do believe this, so Gamrot rushes in like a goofball, gets checked immediately, falls down. Now his nose is all busted up after this. I think he broke his nose right there and couldn't breathe out of it because after that moment, he's breathing out of his mouth the entirety of the rest of the fight. And then when we get to the ground, the choke is over his mouth, like it's like on the chin, but he can't breathe out of his nose. So I think there was more of an issue there. He was like, well, I'm fucked, like, because listen, we've never seen Gamrot go out like that. Like, and it is because in the moment I'm like, Gamrot's been here before. He knows how to not get tapped out by a rear naked choke and then boop, rear naked choke, instant. And it's like, how can you even justify that was not just something crazy kind of deal?
Well,
But
it was
go ahead.
something crazy though. I want to just read this out real quick, just for posterity's sake here. So just bear with me because this finishing sequence was, I mean, like there's not really like a metric that we can put it in necessarily, I guess, but like I just it was so perfect what Quillen did here. So let me just talk this through.
Mhm.
Quillen takes the back. He goes for the first RNC. Body triangles at that point. Gamrot rolls again. This is the second time Gamrot had rolled earlier in the fight. So he rolls through one more time to try to get out of that. Quillen maintains the control. Gamrot turns his body into the triangle, basically. Like, so he still has the lock. And Quillen ends up on top. Gamrot stands to try to shake him off. Quillen still maintains control, hangs on Gamrot's side until he has control of the back again, but he's high on the back at that point. So Gamrot postures up again. Quillen pulls himself back to slide himself down into the perfect position to lock in the choke and finish the fight. Talking it through does not do it justice. You have to see it to really know all of those details. But I'm telling you, in sequence, what we saw at that moment really solidified it to me in my mind. Quillen is the real deal. Like that all of what I just said happening the way that it did against Gamrot, who is a seasoned veteran of this sport. It was amazing. It was really, really impressive. It was like in the moment, you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this is going down like this.
It's, I would say I'm not surprised. Um, but when you lay it out like I've seen it before, I guess I shouldn't be because I've always said Quillen has this ability that when nothing goes right, he can just finish the fight. Something will go right. He will force it to be right. This fight was an example of, well, if nothing goes wrong for him, he can look pretty fucking good. I mean, so I think when you look at the fight with Dariush, this dude got fucking dropped and then he got taken down. It's like things went bad and he still figured it out. This fight right here, it never got bad for him and it looked damn pretty good. I mean, he looked dominant and that's just not even half of it. This dude walked out with he did what Charles did but faster and not on short notice. I mean, Gamrot walked into that kind of on short notice, literally ran into the cage to get submitted by Charles. This fight right here, full camp, did it quicker than Charles with a lot less technique. It's insane, man.
Well, I mean, Quillen did have to take a little bit of adversity. I mean, Gamrot was going for that heel hook for a minute there. It
Mhm.
looked like it could have been something at one point. A lesser fighter probably would have gotten heel hooked in that position.
I mean, he did say that his knees like jacked up.
Then
So
also you notice that he was kind of limping a little bit there too. So I mean, we're gonna have to see how that's going to affect how long it's going to take for him to come back and stuff like that. So there is potential for that to have been a little bit more damaging than it seemed in the moment. So but good to me. That signals even better. I mean, it shows that he had to take a little bit of adversity and what we talk about often in this sport, Chase, optics, right? He might have been in so much pain at that point, still didn't let it show, still just kept doing the damn thing, made it his fight thereafter. It's like, you can see talking about our dude Richie Miranda, it was very obvious that he was compromised. That ends up being, again, optically, that third round. I think if you watch that third round with the volume off, the optics of it really play the biggest part of all of them. So Quillen Salkilld, not even letting optics go against him in this fight, which, very impressive in that regard. I said we've still got a little bit more than, or we still have a couple more months left in the year of 2026 here. But spoiler alert, Quillen Salkilld is probably going to end up on my stock risers list. I mean, I don't think that you can deny it. The kid is on fire. Now, this is an actual rocket ship strapped to this guy's back. He's proven he's a legit contender. So, welcome to the big show, Mr. Salkilld.
I think it's actually different. This isn't a rocket ship strapped to his back. This is the spaceman. I mean, he is
Right.
driving the rocket ship.
Right. Yeah.
It's not just attached to him taking him somewhere. No, he's navigating where it's going. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. He's making it happen for himself and doing it in spectacular fashion. I think that it was like what he already had 4 wins. This is now his fifth, and 3 out of the 4, I think, were performance bonuses coming into this fight or something like that. I mean, it's something along those lines. I mean, it's a lot of wins and a lot of performance bonuses, and now against a high level opponent like Mateusz Gamrot, he's calling out top 5. Fucking give the man what he wants.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, great deal. I mean, really, it was a quick fight, but a really, really solid one. Like I said, I think that this was possibly his best performance in the UFC to date, based on the adversity and the level of competition. So, Quillen Salkilld, like I said, welcome to the big show, brother. You have ascended.
100%. Yeah, this was a good one.
Yes, indeed, and it was a good card. That's UFC Fight Night, Gamrot versus Salkilld. Chase, we talked through the whole damn thing. What'd you think of this?
It was good. This was a good night of fights. I was very excited when they ended because I got, we had a lot to talk about, of course. This was big things for the lightweight division. Some other prospects showed out, some that we knew would show out, some that we didn't. And I was excited that there was just stuff to talk about. Monday brings, opinions, and I'm glad that I left Saturday with a bunch of those.
Yes, same here. I enjoyed this card a lot, actually. I think that, with the exception of a couple things on main card, I thought undercard and the prelims were all very, very good. And then the main event, of course, really brought it home. So I liked this card a lot. I thought it was a great card to christen the new Apex, and that looks really cool as well. So I was very satisfied with my viewing experience here.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, then, before we move on to our next portion here, Chase, do you want to run the numbers down?
Yes, so I did not tally the Louis Sutherland fight because that was not the 42-year-old that we picked for him to go
Fair.
against. So that
Okay.
one we are not counting. But out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights that we are tallying, I had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 correct. And then you had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 correct. You only missed one on Dyer Nurgajai. Your hatred for him clouded your judgment, unfortunately.
I'll take it though. A week of thinker on top for once, people. Mark it in the history books. It may never happen again.
And so now the total is 206 for me to 188 for Thinker. So keep it up, man. Keep it up.
Clawing my way back into contention here, but good deal. I like it. All right. Well, then this could be another week of good stuff. This could be another week of bad stuff. Who knows what's going to go down, but we'll find out together because it is UFC 330 Makhachev versus Machado, Garry, of course. First fight that we
That's
will
his
talk.
wife's name, by the way, if you guys didn't know that.
Yes, I mean the Machado does come from his lovely wife. I don't know if anybody out there knows much about the personal lives of the Garry Machados there, but they're very private. They don't like to put a lot out there in the public, so you got to do a little bit of digging. But if you look online, you might find something.
Absolutely. You might find the seat that Ian Gary sits in the corner on Auction House or something.
Yeah, a lot of those in hotel rooms around the world. But either way, that guy, Ian Machado Garry, is fighting who some people believe to be the pound for pound best fighter on the planet, Islam Makhachev. Chase, what do you think of this main event fight between these two?
I don't think that it needs a whole song and dance. Listen, Ian Gary may be elite at striking. And I've said this for a very long time. He is one of the best strikers in the game, not just offensively, but defensively. But Islam beat many great strikers. I mean, they do different things than Ian Gary. Dustin Poirier, of course, is different. But Volkanovski, maybe a little similar. Maybe a little similar. Lot shorter, of course. But Islam Makhachev, I could not. And listen, I've been wrong plenty of times this year, and I'm going to continue to be wrong if it's this dude. But Makhachev ain't fucking losing this belt, bro. At welterweight, I said it when he won it. It sucks that he moved up and took that belt because there ain't an option. There ain't an option right now. He gonna have that belt for as long as he fucking wants that shit until he tries to go fight DDP or something. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's Islam Makhachev. We're talking about people he is built differently. First of all, let me shout out Hydra because I did see Hydra coming in there, brother. We appreciate you, my man. Thank you for showing up. And then as far as this fight goes, yeah, I had someone coming in. We do Muay Thai Sundays around here on the channel, and last night somebody was coming in talking about, oh, well, what if Ian Garry just plays the outside and just touches him up over the course of 5 rounds, range, striking, stick and move, plays the Paulo Costa game like against Sean Strickland. I said, give me a fucking break. Give me a goddamn break. You think that Islam Makhachev is not equipped to handle that or any other range striking attacks? You don't think he's catching kicks? You don't think he's closing distance? You don't think he's going to track him down over 5 rounds? Give me a goddamn break with any of that kind of thought. Ian Garry is a very technical striker. He is a very proficient, very fast striker. He has a little bit of a wrestling base that he's now cultivated over time. He is a well-rounded fighter. Islam Makhachev is also all of those things. And then add better on top of all of that to almost every other fighter, not just Garry, every other fighter, literally every other fighter on the planet. So, I mean, I'm not just even talking about the division. So whatever you think Ian Garry is going to bring to this equation, just know that Islam Makhachev can do it and he can do it better.
I think what's also key, and this is just outside factors, Ian Machado Garry trains at Shoot Box down in Brazil with Charles Oliveira. Now, obviously, if you know, Charles Oliveira had nothing for Islam. So what the fuck he gonna teach him? I mean, he might have been ready for a rematch, but he didn't. He did not end up making that rematch. So that is one key thing. The other key thing about Shootbox is they had just lost one of their teammates. So who's going to really be supporting Ian Garry when it comes to this week? I think they're all going to be in mourning, and his team is going to evidently just be him and his fucking wife and the ex-husband probably. So that's what I would say. I mean, who's going to be in Ian Garry's corner for this week is what I would say when it comes to the Shootbox crowd.
I don't know if I necessarily go with that thought, only because, I mean, it's Brazil, bro. Even in mourning, they fight comes first. I think that they're probably going to be able to compartmentalize that, I would suspect anyway. Of course, I mean, and obviously RIP to Alan Nascimento. I mean, this is a tremendous loss, and I'm sure that they're all feeling that. But knowing that type of organization, they probably take that feeling and then channel it into, prepping for the fight. This fight is dedicated to Alan, kind of thing. But either way, look, it's not crazier thought processes have made sense. So I will at least acknowledge that it is potentially a factor, but I'm not even really tallying that. I guess the only other thing I would say that to your other point about Charles having fought Makhachev, I mean, what you could say, playing devil's advocate, oh, well, Charles comes in now with the knowledge, with the ball knowledge. Well, okay, I've been in there with him, so I can tell you the things that I needed to improve so that you can improve upon those things.
I've been in there 1 minute with him, brother. I can pass this knowledge on to you, I swear.
Ain't it the truth? I mean, so then negating all of the points right there. And again, dude, we can go down into these rabbit holes of all of the this and the that and what could be and all of this stuff. It's Islam fucking Makhachev. He is the pound for pound best fighter on planet Earth. I know that some people don't want to acknowledge this or don't like that it's the case. That there's Dagestani bias. There are people that think that he can be boring at times, which doesn't track to me, but whatever. I acknowledge your points and your perspectives. However, they are not correct because Islam Makhachev is the pound for pound best, and there's no two ways about it. So it is what it is.
The scope of it being pound for pound best is even small for him. I mean, this is somebody who, after this win, will overthrow the longest win streak in the UFC history. So, and he has 2 belts to his name, and he's defended them, and he never lost them. So, GOAT status is potentially, rising the ranks here, is what I would say. I mean, if it's not already applicable, you're going to have more of a case.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been saying it for a while now, and I think that it is being solidified, really in real time. I also did want to acknowledge that shout out to Carlos. Carlos keeps me updated on fight information and news coming out of Latin America. And Javier Mendez, of course, one of the coaches for Islam Makhachev, did say that apparently the Ilya fight now is probably 100% off the table. So that kind of changes that dynamic of what everybody kind of wanted out of that. So if that even potential is off the table as far as what that fight would have been at the time, then really, I mean, where it's going to be interesting to see where Islam goes after this if he does indeed get this win. You know, like what ends? Does he just stay dominant at this division forever? Is there going to be more? Like you said, does he try to go for triple, which would be so crazy if he was going to try to do that, but maybe is possible. I don't know. Either way, I mean, maybe I certainly don't want to imply that I'm overlooking Ian Garry, but it's only because of what I have already seen out of Islam Makhachev.
100%. Yeah, this will be a good one.
I hope so. I do hope that Ian Garry makes it a competitive fight because that's also something that I had said was going to happen here. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. Ian Garry is a very competent fighter and very competitive, but I do think that Islam gets it done. But what's your official pick there, Chase?
Oh yeah, I'm for sure taking Islam Makhachev.
All right, then we are in lockstep on that. That takes us to co-main event here. Of course, Mackenzie Dern is defending her belt against Jillian Robertson, our Florida queen by way of Canada. I mean, I feel like Jillian Robertson has been in the waiting in the wings, like been in this position for a while to be a competitor and a challenger for like longer than it should have taken. So it does make sense that she's finally getting the shot going up against Mackenzie Dern. A lot of people not really sold on her being a champion to begin with. I know you have feelings about the championship fight that she won her belt in. What are you thinking about this fight, Chase?
Well, this one I think is very easy. I mean, it comes down to Mackenzie Dern is a BJJ nerd at heart. She plays off of her back when it comes down to it. Jillian Robertson is a wrestler, grappler. You know, she gets top and she does work in the mount and the full guard. You know, she does stuff on top. Mackenzie Dern does stuff on bottom. I mean, I can't argue that the same thing's going to happen with Virna. The fight that happened with Virna and Mackenzie Dern, where Virna was on top for 5 rounds and somehow loses 4 of them. You know, Jillian Robertson is going to be on top. She's going to be working, maybe even TKO likely, because I've seen her do that shit too. She's pretty fucking good, guys. I don't doubt that a sub could be likely, but Mackenzie Dern, if she's the BJJ go to this division that they fucking telling her, she better not get fucking subbed, is what I would say. But I think TKO, 5 rounds of Mackenzie Dern getting beat up because she decides to pull guard and lay on her back. I think Jillian is going to have a very easy opportunity here to win this belt. And but let me say this: when I say easy, I don't mean because Mackenzie Dern is going to give it up easy. You know, trust me. Listen, she is very, very tough. That's one thing that I will say about her. When she got beat up by Jessica Andrade, which by the way was not that long ago, she had to get her ass whooped, and she didn't even go all the way out. She just got knocked down for as many times as the ref was tired of seeing it. So I think it is key that she's not going to give up the belt so easy. Jillian Robertson, though, is the type of girl that I think is going to bring a fight to her. So this will be really, really fun. Jillian Robertson, though, I think is going to be on top for the majority of this winning.
Well, that's I think where I'm a little bit conflicted is only because both of these women, with grappling on one side, wrestling on the other side primarily, like I think that there could be a potential for both of them to be a little gun shy to try to take it to the ground. I really this is speculation because I mean both of them probably think they are the better at that, at the game plan. So it's like let me just enact the game plan regardless and just impose my will. That could track as well. A lot of ins and outs with this fight as far as like what could happen in my mind. If it does end up staying on the feet, I think that it becomes a little bit more of a competitive fight. I wouldn't class either of these women as like the craziest strikers on the planet. You know what I mean? Like they both have pretty set strengths, pretty set like skill sets that they enact regularly and that have gotten them a lot of success. So if they end up in a situation where they're forced to kind of break their own game plan a little bit, have to go outside of like where their comfort zone is, that becomes a little bit more of a competitive fight than I think we would be anticipating. If they try to stay within the wheelhouse, I think what you're saying probably does make sense. I think that Mackenzie Dern ends up maybe trying to get herself into positions that against other fighters might be more advantageous. Against Jillian Robertson will not be. We might see the return of the fabled 12-6 to the asshole. Perhaps it could happen. It could happen. I mean, I'm just saying that we've seen it already. It could come back if Mackenzie Dern ends up ass over tea kettle. That being said, this is going to be, I think, a pretty competitive fight. I think that both of them, like they're evenly skilled match, in my opinion. As like their matchup is evenly skilled, not in the same realm. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that they are both at a similar level of acumen in their own worlds, and having those worlds collide, I think, is going to make this fight somewhat interesting. That being said, I want to go with Jillian Robertson as well. This is a hard one for me to call because I like I said I think that because they are so on similar playing fields or similar ground as far as like what they bring to this fight, it really just depends on where this fight goes. But I'm leaning towards Jillian Robertson. I think that she gets the win over here, brings it home to Canada.
All right. I'm going to go with Jillian Robertson as well.
All right, all right. I was thinking we would end up being on opposite sides of that one, but we will see, I suppose. But yep, all right, we'll lock it in for Jillian Robertson.
100%.
All right, moving on down the line here. Charles Johnson is fighting Jose Ochoa, our Peruvian king over here. You know, this is a guy that I know you've been high on for a while. He's going up against Charles Johnson, who never stops fighting. CJ, it's probably a smart idea to slow down just a little bit, my dude. You don't have to be Kevin Holland. No one's forcing you.
And I think that's what it comes down to, of course. If you remember not too long ago, it was probably only 2 months ago, Charles Johnson got knocked out by Alex Perez. Like it was a brutal beatdown for that first round. I mean, he wasn't knocked out. I mean, but he got the fight finished and it was TKO. I think it's obviously part of Charles Johnson's game plan. You know, get these prospects, let them do their thing in the first 2 rounds. Third round, I'm just going to cook them up. You know, good for him. That's great. Ochoa, though, I think has that blitz ability that can get him out of there. You know, we've said this about all the people that Charles Johnson has faced. You know, Josh Van I think is different because he's a volume striker. You know, he does a lot of at that time, whatever. Lonnie Kavanaugh, I think, was another prime example of somebody that we thought had that blitz ability to just get him out of there. We're starting to see more now that he's just a very well rounded, very like he's not like your first round killer, but he can get it done wherever. I think Ochoa, I think that blitz in that first round is it's not gonna look similar to Alex Perez, but I think the result might be a little similar. If not, I think bare minimum, Charles Johnson gets really wobbled and hopefully he continues to get to the second round and then third round could be an upset. But I think for the first round, I see Ochoa getting something off that gets the attention of Charles Johnson and or unfortunately renders him in a state that the fight has to be ended. So
Yeah, I mean, really, the original point I think is why I also have to go with Ochoa on this. It's because I feel like Charles Johnson spreads himself thin in this game, and it's like you know, sadly, and because I mean, you know, Charles Johnson is a dude who I ride with pretty heavily on a lot of these fights, but I feel like he may like so if you trace the timeline back a little bit, there was a period of time where he was also very active. He was taking a good amount of losses. He took a step back and then he went on a pretty decent streak there for a little minute. He started to like figure out the game and it was like, okay, he made the adjustments. It was not to the point of like ascending to the next level. It was it now after where we see what has happened in recent times, it feels like it was a stopgap. And like it's unfortunate because I do think that he is a like an ultimately skilled fighter in the big picture, but like it's just not enough. It's not enough against like what's coming behind, and to have a 25-year-old kid who's hungry as hell, very fast, you know, a dude who's like decently powerful as well. He's got a lot of tricks in the bag to bring to this fight, and a CJ who just allows himself to get worn out. I mean, like I feel like especially as time progresses, he's also, you know, age is catching up with him just a little bit is what it's feeling like as well. I mean, I think that he needs to reassess how he's approaching the sport in general. I think that this being as active as he wants to be is ultimately biting him in the ass a little bit. He's taken too many fights. He's taken too much damage in the fights that he is taking. I'll never forget that the fight where he got rocked and would look like he was underwater going backwards. I mean, like these are not optically good things to be seeing, and then to carry over into the future of your fights going forward. Like it's not looking good for Charles right now. I got to ride with Peru on this one. Jose Ochoa getting the job done.
100%.
All right.
We'll
Then
differ on this one for sure.
I think so. Oh, okay. Well, that'll be interesting then. Mansour Abdul Malik is fighting Dustin Stoltzfus. Obviously, Stoltzfus, a tenured veteran of this thing. Abdul Malik, it was a surging prospect until he got checked, but still, I would say, you know, getting checked by Yusri Belgarwi, right? I mean, this is another dude who's got a lot of height behind him and is a tall, you know, behemoth in this sport. So a lot of the attributes kind of make sense for that. You're thinking that he got some holes exposed in the game that Stoltzfus is going to be able to exploit here, Chase.
I'm a big fan of Dustin Stoltzfus for no reason at all. I think he embodies what I really like out of a fighter. You know, he doesn't have shit to say. he signs up for the job and he goes out there and he tries to fucking win him some money, you know? I I have not been pleased with his most recent performance, but I will say when this fight got announced, I said that's a good fucking fight because this is not just two guys who have a style that clash. I think these styles are very similar. You have two dudes who are going to stand there and strike, and they have like that bull, like they have like the ox type of, like they'll just rush into each other for the wrestling attempts. Like it's just two bulls crashing into each other. I don't think Mansoor is like a very credentialed wrestler, but I think Dustin Stoltzfus, I think what he lacks in the credentials, I think he brings in physicality, tenacity. I think he's also a very good grappler as well. So if it does get to the ground, he might pull something out the hat trick, you know, whatever you want to say. I think Dustin Stoltzfus, though, is going to surprise a lot of people because on the feet, I truly have seen him just not be a bum. Like he is a dude who will stand there and try to strike with people who obviously he's not striking with the best of them because he ain't fighting the best of them. But the people that he is in the fight against, he ain't no slouch and he ain't acting like a bitch. I think Dustin Stoltzfus is going to have just the experience. You know, he's not as green as Mansoor. Mansoor's coming off a loss. He's gonna come in here thinking I gotta make a big impression. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. But Dustin Stoltzfus, one, probably not getting chinned. This dude takes big shots. He's tough, and again with the wrestling, I just don't see Mansoor just overpowering him and getting a double leg. I think Dustin Stoltzfus just drops low, and then they both fucking collide, and then we're back on the feet. And you know, I find it an unfortunate reality for Mansoor because in the last fight, the wrestling didn't help. You know, you're some credentialed wrestler. You got this big old monster. Get him to the ground, but you can't. In this one, I see again the wrestling not mattering. It being something that it's like he's trying to hang his hat on. Like I'm this. I need to be this. You know, he's going to start to stand and strike more because he's going to have to. He's not going to be able to get it to the ground. I think he's just not as good of a wrestler that maybe we think he is. Dustin Stoltzfus doesn't have to be anything too crazy. He just has to pull out his dad's strength. I mean, he's 34 years old for God's sake. 28 years old, chiseled, fine, 34 and white with a receding hairline. I'm telling you, this guy's going to get it done. So,
All right. Well, look, I do agree with you. I like Stoltzfus and the approach that he takes. Like you said, that's my archetype for the fighters that I like. Guys who don't talk a lot of shit, go in there and fight their hardest. I think the Dustin Stoltzfus definitely embodies that. So I certainly agree with you there. Everything else that you said, I completely disagree with. I think that Mansoor Abdul Malik is going to have a lot better success with his wrestling in this fight. Comparable size, even has a couple inches on him on paper, at least. I think they're probably pretty comparably sized in real life. But, either way, that's going to be to his advantage there. And if they do want to strike, I mean, if Stoltzfus is going to try to go toe to toe with him, Mansoor is a good striker too. I mean, he wasn't having success with the range striking because Yusri Belgarwi is a fucking giant. So I mean, like there are a lot of attributes that make Belgarwi a hard opponent for anybody, including Abdul Malik. So I think that the problems that were shown in the Abdul Malik fight were somewhat unique, and they're going to be the same unique problems that a lot of people at middleweight are going to have with that opponent. This opponent, much more down the line, and being a little bit of an older guy. I mean, I don't always count that in the way that I look at fights, but with this one, I think Abdul Malik has, he's a go after it kind of fighter. Like he also he does what I like when you, like you're starting the fight, he'll meet you at your level until he's ready to overtake. Like it's those are the two options, unless you really bring it to him to the point where you overtake. Like that's the only those are the only ways that it goes. Like he will at the very least meet you. He's never pensive. He's always in your face. Pressure is going to be on because he does have the wrestling in the back pocket if it starts striking. So I mean, like he's really, I think, got a lot of great attributes. And to this fight specifically, I think he enacts the game plan that will be successful. So yes, we will differ. I will take Mansoor Abdul Malik.
oh right, I love this one.
All right.
Appreciate you for sacrificing your pick on this one. Dustin's going to get this done.
And I'll be happy about that. Look, like I said, I like the guy. I'd be happy, anytime that one of the unks gets a win, and secretly in my heart, it warms up just a little bit. So good on him if he does. But I think that this is the exact bounce back that they want for Mansoor. I think that they're setting this fight up with a very specific purpose because they don't want Mansoor to be backsliding.
Hell yeah.
All right. that takes us to this fight. This is another interesting one to me, of course. Edson Barbosa, talk about another veteran. Edson Barbosa is fighting Esteban Ribovics, coming off of his own loss to Mr. Mateusz Gamrot, who we just saw fight. This is one that is, I would say it should be competitive, but I also feel like Edson Barbosa has turned the corner towards maybe not being the guy that he once was.
That is what is key. Edson Barbosa at a time is a dude that, he's going to war with a lot of people. Now at this point, Edson Barbosa wears damage and he physically shows that he is getting hurt in fights. The last couple performances, and it may even be more than a couple at this point, where he has gotten some serious damage done to him in these fights. And it's not only looking bad, but it's like to a point at like, dude, we can't let you get your ass whooped like this too much more. He had already been talking about that this, the end of the career is potentially coming around the corner. From because Jalen Turner was the last performance that he had. Yes, and he got his butt whooped. But
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I'll never forget seeing the blood spurting out of his forehead. I mean, it was
yeah,
bad.
so shit like that, it just makes me think that Esteban, while not being a big time finisher, the way Edson's body is now, the way he gets hurt, the way he gets damaged, I'm gonna see Ribovics getting a finish within 15 minutes here. I mean, the volume that he normally puts on when it's only striking is crazy. Edson Barbosa is a dude who only strikes, and he normally only loses in the striking. So Ribovics being a fan favorite, I think this is getting him right back on track. He's gonna come out and get a finish against somebody that normally doesn't get finished. So
Yeah, or at one time at least. I mean,
yes,
that's really, I see Bleeding Edge saying guaranteed banger, and really, I think that that's also part of why this is the setup that they want out of this fight. I mean, Ribovics, a dude who has trouble on the ground. We saw that very clearly against Gamrot. Hopefully, he's working on that. I really pray for his sake that he's working on that behind the scenes, but that's not going to be a factor in this fight. Stand up fight between these two guys. I recall when Edson Barbosa fought Lerone Murphy and how much of a masterful performance I thought Murphy put on in that performance, in that fight. I said that, that was the performance that really made me know that Lerone had potential to be in the higher echelons of the sport. So that's the kind of thing that at that time, at least, Edson was capable of bringing out of his opponent. I think that he still has at least that. So I also agree that this is going to be a good fight. Strikers affair out of the two of them. But with Esteban being, the fresher guy, a dude who is probably very, very anxious to get himself another win again, show that he is still worthy of being around and all this. One loss shouldn't be setting him back too much, but the mindset, it takes a little bit of a ding off of a loss like he took. I think that this is the exact right fight to show off why he is a fan favorite. A guy who's going to go out there and really bring the fight to him. I kind of agree. I think that this will probably end in a finish of some sort for Ribovics. Those kicks are so crispy from Ribovics. That's going to be a great asset in this fight. Just keep a little bit of range, get your striking off with your hands when you can, kick when you can't. I think that Ribovics has all the tools to make this happen for himself.
100%.
Yeah, good deal. I'm looking forward to this fight, though. And if Edson has anything left in the tank, this would be the time to show it because, like you said, end of the career, it's got to be in the talks. I mean, it's already should probably be at the forethought of his mind.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it takes us down to the prelims here. Chidi Njokuani is fighting Joel Alvarez. Alvarez at welterweight, of course. That's been the conversation surrounding him since he made this move. It seems like a different guy at welterweight than what we saw back at the lower weight. And Chidi Njokuani kind of just hanging around, it seems. So I would think that this should be a bit of a tee up for Joel, but he's made it so that's questionable.
Yeah, no, and it's on short notice, so it's like at the end of the day, he subconsciously he could have a built-in excuse. It's like, well, if I don't finish, it's short notice, so give me a break kind of deal. But we talked about this on the free for all when the announcement came that Joel wanted to step up on short notice for this matchup. This is a great opportunity for him at welterweight because it's not the highest level of competition, but you need something to prove to people that welterweight you is something to look out for. And Chidi is a guy who doesn't shy away from fights, and he will get finished. So if you aren't finishing him, I mean, obviously you're not where we need you to be. But if you're not finishing him and you're going to decision and winning, obviously you're just not that dude at welterweight. There was a reason why you wanted to be at lightweight, is because you had all these advantages. But this is a good opportunity. You don't have to schedule a bout against somebody who potentially is up the ranks or a lot better than what you want. You have to say yes just out of necessity. Like, this was a door opened, and you saw a fight that you could take, and I think it is a fight that you can win, of course. Let's just make it happen. Let's just literally make it happen, Joel.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a make or break fight as far as your career goes, but I would say it's a make or break fight as far as your perception goes. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? I mean, because like we're seeing things from you now that were almost baffling. Like, I mean, dude, back at lightweight, I mean, Joel Alvarez was a guy I was like, that has champ potential right there. I mean, I got to see him get that beautiful knockout live in Tampa. I'm like, this dude really is about his shit. Like, he's proving what I need to see out of a guy who I can really, hang some hopes on here. Moves up weight, it felt like a whole new world out there. I mean, I'll never forget the beatdown of Elvis Brenner. I mean, I'm pulling these off the top of my head because of how impressive they were. Welterweight, completely different story. So right here needs to be that defining turning of the corner. You asked for this fight, as you said. This is a fight that you want to be able to prove something to the world. Now you got to go out there and fucking prove it. And Chidi Njokuani, like you said as well, Chase, a very like almost, it's like handpicked is not right, because of course it wasn't handpicked, but like it is the exact right guy. If you're going to do it against him. So I agree with you 100% down the line. So if Joel wants to make this his fight and really show that this is a division that he can improve and become a contender at, this needs to be the fight that you show it, because if not, I'm going to be questioning you from here on out. So I will go with Joel Alvarez to do that, but this will potentially be the last time if you can't make this happen.
100%.
And you're going with him as well?
I'm taking Joel. Yep.
All right, we're in lockstep on a lot of these tonight, it seems, but that's all right. Maybe one of these will be the difference here. Probably not this one though. Jalen Turner versus Coué Fernandez. Of course, Coué Fernandez. Who could forget the Coué Fernandez that TKO'd our dude Harry Hardwick with nothing but kicks to the legs? That was him, right?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
him.
Okay.
Not anybody that is ever on my radar. I mean, he's inactive. He shows up once a year to fight, and who really, honestly, is keeping an eye out. But the thing that I will say is, we at a time knew Jalen Turner to be a very formidable person in the division. He's got size, he's got a unique build, he's got a skill set, yada yada yada. Towards the end of his first stint in his UFC career, it was not looking great. But when he came back, I'm truly being honest. That was the best Jalen Turner that I've seen in a very long time. And what I saw against Dan Hooker, I mean, that was a very sloppy kind of, that was a fight kind of deal. Like what he did against Edson Barbosa, that was clinical. Like that striking, he went in there and there was no question what he wanted to do. And I think honestly, I don't know if Fernandez is going to be on the outside. He's got that karate style. He's going to have his hands down. The thing is, Jalen Turner's got really long arms and he's really tall and he's got reach and he throws a lot of straight punches. If Fernandez thinks that he's going to low kick, he's going to get punched straight in the fucking face. Like it may work a couple times, but Jalen Turner, if you want to keep it on the feet and leg kick him, he's going to straight shot you. This dude, look what his he straight right sat Moicano down and almost ended the fight. And what he did to fucking Bobby Green as well. King Green, excuse me. I address him correctly. And Jalen Turner has gunpowder in his hands and he's got range. And when he decides to kick, I mean, this dude's got some really fucking good kicks too. And I just don't think Fernandez. I don't think he's in for a good one because this is not the fight that I think he's expecting.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate only to say that Jalen Turner's comeback fight after his first stint was against Edson Barbosa, as we were just talking about. So, an opponent who is a little bit later in his career.
Probably this dude's hero, by the way. He's a Brazilian dude.
Very well could be. Yeah, Brazilian striker, right? I mean, it would make sense. So, you got to keep that in perspective. There also, of course, you can't have the conversation about Jalen Turner without at least touching on the mental aspect of the game, which had been a problem for him at times. Seemed like that was cleared up when he came back because he came back in focused, looking great. And as I said, the striking was as vintage Jalen Turner as you had seen prior to him leaving. So I got to believe that the mental stuff seems to be shored up. can always creep back in. It's a complex thing, the mind, but I want to believe that at least off of the information that we have, that shouldn't play a factor. And if it is going to be striking, yeah, if Kue Fernandez thinks he's going to do to Jalen Turner what he did to Harry Hardwick, that's going to be a very rude awakening. Jalen Turner with the ranged attacks, that's why I say vintage performance for Turner in his comeback, is because vintage Jalen Turner as a striker is like, I mean, he's a next level striker at times. I mean, really, like, he will put together some amazing combinations, and then his singles from range are really, really competently, like the fight IQ. That's why it was so. I mean, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, but that's why it was such a tremendous letdown when Jalen Turner had the low fight IQ moment against Renato Moicano, because it was so unexpected out of a guy who generally has such a tremendous fight IQ, I would class as. I mean, a dude who, with the clinical striking that he has, like you say, I mean, this guy can he can navigate a fight in such a tremendous way that he doesn't even really need to get super brawly. He'll do it as set up shot, execute shot, set up another one, execute another one. People thought he was boring for a long time for that. Oh, he's not really very exciting. No, it's because he's plotting out his game plan, and then he's enacting a technician's approach. I mean, like, I think that there's a lot of great things about Jalen Turner when he is focused and locked in. He seemed to be that coming back. I see no reasons to think that Kue Fernandez, a guy who really was sort of wishy-washy, like, at best before the Harry Hardwick fight. I mean, this is not a guy that you were ever really like having too high hopes in. Like you said, someone inactive. I there's not much there versus Jalen Turner, who there is a lot of good things there, or were, and need to come back. So coming back, I think that he's got it. I think that Jalen Turner has this fight as well.
All right, I love it.
All right, and we are again in lockstep. See if this is the one that we differ on. I doubt it. Yeah, geez, a lot of ones that feel like we're pretty locked in, even coming into these discussions. But Dante Johnson, our dude Dante Johnson, shout out to Jeremy in the Discord, of course. Dante Johnson is fighting Eric McConaughey. McConaughey, a guy. I mean, what can you say about Eric McConaughey? He shows up. He certainly shows up, and he fights in the UFC. Dante Johnson had a little bit of a weak performance in his last fight. Does his last performance give you any pause, Chase?
Well, I want to just listen. I'm not completely sold. You good? Everything good?
Oh, no, yeah, no, you cut out for a moment.
Oh, okay. So I'm not the biggest. I'm not sold on Dante Johnson. Obviously not yet. I haven't seen everything that makes me think that this dude's got championship material. There was an injury in his last fight that does hold validity. So what I will say to this is, just to be spicy, and because this isn't my guy, this, if it was anybody else that was my guy, I would feel different. But I'm gonna go ahead and take Eric McConaughey, and I'll tell you why. Eric McConaughey is a southpaw striker. Cool. I don't know too much about the science behind it, but I know you don't face too many southpaws. Dante Johnson is a southpaw, but he's a wrestler. So he's probably going to look way out of there because his striking already isn't crazy. I mean, we know this dude, like, he walks you down and he's good, but the striking has a lot to be desired. He's got a very awkward style. It's very awkward. And with the injury last fight, it just looked even worse. So Eric McConaughey, what I do know is that this dude, he lasted a round and a half with Salkilld. I mean, the striking is fine enough. He beat Rodolfo Vieira. I'm not going to say it's the craziest stuff to go on, but he also has Jared Cannonier as his coach. That'll be another key thing.
Give you that. I mean, lasting a round with Salkilld, or a round and a half, Salkilld makes it that way. I mean, Salkilld is a dude who plays with his food, it feels like, or at least, has to somehow snap himself into fights. Regardless of that, what we know, at least having a little bit of an inside track, is that Dante Johnson took that last loss to heart. I mean, he certainly was not happy with his performance. And from all of the indicators we have behind the scenes, he is taking all of the stock that he needs to fix the problems in that performance. Of course, the injury playing a part in it certainly did not help. That's going to, it remains to be seen if he's conditioned enough to not let something like that happen again. I think he comes into this fight with a new version of intensity that is going to be a little bit overwhelming for McConaughey. And the one thing that I do think that, regardless of his awkward style, because I agree with you, he does have that, I think that the thing that he has on his side is the speed. He is a lot faster. He's a little bit of a smaller guy. So, he has to make up for that with being a faster guy. He has really quick sweeps. If you've ever seen when he goes in for like his single legs, he likes to do that the side sweep where he kind of grabs the leg and twists his body around the side. He might be able to get that off pretty effectively against Makhachev, who's not super fast to begin with. He's a little bit more plotty, I say.
No, I think Mechanico's got faster hands. I think it's all going to start up top, and I think Mechanico's just going to be able to keep the distance. Because I always talk about, it's going to take it's going to take them to fight a clean fight for them to win this. They have to evade stuff. I don't think Dante Johnson really has that threat, in my opinion. Like what's he going to do? What's he going to do if he does catch Mechanico? Is he going to take him down? Okay, then what? Is he going to finish him with TKO? Is he going to sub him? Like, what if Mechanico gets back to the feet? Like, if he initially is able to stop the wrestling, I don't think Dante Johnson has much in the back catalog there, So I'm worried about him because again, 8-0, very green. We don't know what to expect. He beat Cody Brundage. The one thing that I would say when I see Dante Johnson, we talk about awkward style. It's not awkward enough where it disrupts people. When you look at somebody like Jordan Santos, that dude's style kind of gets in your face. His arms are always moving, and he's doing something like that. Dante Johnson's just awkward for the love of the game. It ain't like throwing his opponent off. It ain't making this. I think Mechanico will just be technical enough to just get it done.
All right. I mean, I'll hear what you're saying here. I mean, now, the aforementioned Jeremy is in the chat. Appreciate you being here, brother. I will at least highlight this. Corner has changed. Anything about that lend anything new to your take?
For Dante and or Eric.
For Dante.
For Dante, corner changed. Yeah, I don't really. It doesn't change anything for me.
All right. Well, then if you are unswayed, then I will be on the other side of that. I will go with Dante Johnson. Really, regardless of the style, Makhachev has just never done enough. Like, this is not even just about trying to ride with Dante Johnson. I mean, shout out to the chat. You guys are the homies, of course. If I did not think Dante Johnson would win this fight, I would say so. But it's really more the Makhachev side. I've never seen anything out of Makhachev. He reminds me of Julius Walker in the same way, where it's like, he's fine, he's an okay guy. He'll go in there and he will fight. He will try to win a fight, but I just don't see him making this as competitive a fight as like it would be against a lower level guy. And we've seen some decent stuff out of Johnson, who still, like you said, 8-0. He's still gaining his sea legs in the organization. And, he obviously wants to be there. He's doing his thing, trying to make himself improve over time, taking these losses to heart, getting better off of those. I think that all fuels him to get the win over a guy who I've never really been sold on.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this one goes. Just trying to make it interesting. I don't necessarily think Eric Mechanico is a world ender, but southpaw striker. I mean, I guess I'll go with it for now.
All right, fair enough. I mean, we lock it in then. Be okay with the decision.
Yes.
All right, that takes us to Vicente Luque versus Tresean Gore. Wow. I mean, both of these guys in interesting positions here. Now, Luque is a dude who everybody counts out pretty much consistently at this point. He is a guy who, when he gets counted out, often wins those fights. Tresean Gore, another guy that gets counted out. Often when he gets counted out, he does not win his fights. Those things just happen to be the truth. I think that Tresean Gore has been a dude that they have really been trying to make work in the UFC for a long time. Another guy who has tough privilege, as you call it, came off the Ultimate Fighter, did not, came up short there, has had a rocky go of it, 7-4 at this point. Vicente Luque, a dude who's been around forever, still somewhat, checkerboard. Of course, he had his own the brain injury and stuff. He had the surgery for. He was out for a little while with that. Bit of a story with Vicente Luque, but at its core, one guy who wins fights, the other guy who very sparingly wins at best.
I don't listen. Tresean Gore had a hell of a performance in his last fight. What a fight it was! That was a great, great win. Great win against God damn, what the hell was his name? Not Asmat, fucking yeah, Asmat Bekaev. Yes, and finished him, got the submission. But we cannot let it slide that before that, I mean, you can look at his record right now, 7-4. Before that win, he was 6-4, guys. And one of those tallied ones is the Ultimate fucking Fighter. So I'm not going to sit here and let one performance dictate how I feel about him. Because unfortunately, at 32 years old, 7-4 against somebody who's 34 years old and been doing it for the last 20 years, had a big epic comeback, has even taken a win since then. Like I experience has to win here. There's just no way.
Well, and again, I brought up the point, but think about it. Like they have been trying to make Trayshawn Gore happen for a long time at this point. There's a reason that it hasn't gone the way that they want it to go. I mean, it's just they try to set him up, win over Antonio Tricoli or whatever. I mean, like, they're giving him the people to be like, bro, we're trying to push this ball forward here. Two steps forward, one step back, unfortunately, with this guy. At times it feels like, against Vicente Luque, who, I feel like gets counted out for somewhat valid reasons at times. I think that there is a thought process, against certain fighters where it tracks. But if you think about the striking here, I think that Trayshawn Gore will probably have a striking advantage if it stays consistently striking. Vicente Luque is not going to want that. Gore is a wrestler. Vicente is a better wrestler, gets into the grappling. Vicente Luque has it there. Vicente Luque by submission seems to be the route that I would go for this fight. I mean, I cannot put a lot of stock in Trayshawn Gore, and the fact that he has tough privilege really does shine with him specifically, like, because they've been trying so hard to make this a thing, and it just is not. It's not materializing.
The thing that I think is also key, and my last point really is Trayshawn Gore has 4 wins by front choke. He has 7 wins total. That means 3 of his wins have been on opponents that are not idiots. Vicente Luque is not getting choked out by a front choke. I mean, the 3 other fights that Trayshawn Gore has won, do those give you the idea that he could beat somebody who has won 24 different bouts by various ways,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and also, I mean, looking, I'm seeing in the chat, he got his year of the Unk win already, brother. This is 34 versus 32. This
Uh-huh.
is not exactly like Unk versus young, hungry up and comer over here. Luque, not even truly into Unk status, at 34 is like right at the cutoff point for that, if you want to get technical about that part of it, versus a guy who's pretty comparable in age and never had the skill level to match Vicente Luque.
Yeah. This is
So
crazy. Luque, listen, been around, been doing it. Trayshawn Gore has been around, but hasn't been doing it. So you have to listen. I hate to say that Luque is going to win because I know with his history, it's hard to just gamble on. Listen, with the Canadian guy who just got out of the coma, it's hard to gamble on somebody like that.
right.
Like when it comes to Luque, I mean, I saw how he acted against Buckley. It didn't really look like he was 100% ready to take punches. If Trayshawn Gore looks anything like that, I'd be very surprised. But again, 4 wins by front choke. Luque has been subbed 3 times in his entire career. I guarantee none of them are by that fucking front choke. So
Yeah, so I mean, I think it tracks over here. I'm sticking with the guns. Chat wanting to skewer both of us over this, but
so both going Luque.
I certainly am. I mean, y'all can feel how you want to feel, and we'll see on the other side of it. But I've never been impressed by Trayshawn Gore. I've seen literally every single Trayshawn Gore fight in the UFC. He's never sold me, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, that takes us down the line here. Oh, look who's back. It's Rafael Tobias. He's fighting Lucas Fernando. I mean, Lucas Fernando coming in off of the Contender Series, correct?
Back in 2023 against Cesar Almeida.
Yeah, so it's been a little while there. 13-3 versus Rafael Tobias, who, had the Dair Nurgashai treatment, and his last fight looked atrocious.
But immediately after his Contender Series fight, he had a title fight against Asmat Bekoev and lost by unanimous decision over 5 rounds. He was in the LFA. He's on a 4-fight win streak right now, the last 2 coming off TKO. So what do you have to say about that? Does Tobias get it done?
Well, I mean, Tobias really kind of felt like he shit the bed when he had his shot against Nurgashai. And what we were just talking about Nurgashai is that Nurgashai is not as good as his wins would make him appear. That tracks very poorly for Tobias at this stage of his game here. He is 14-2. Those are, the record is fine, but to see what happened against Dair Nurgashai really does taint the image of Rafael Tobias. There were a lot of mistakes in that fight. Like, and I'm not talking about things that were caused by Nurgashai. It was a lot of like unforced errors, I would class them as, with Rafael Tobias. Lucas Fernando, getting wins in
Clean
LFA.
slate.
Yeah, I mean, it is a clean slate. LFA wins. I mean, there's a couple ways you could look at that, right? You can look at it like like Richie Miranda, or you can look at it like I don't know who the fuck you are, even with all of what you've been doing outside the organization. So I don't know. It's kind of a little bit of a toss up in that regard. But what I do know is I was not happy with Rafael Tobias's performance. Also, he was complaining a lot to the referee, if I recall. I'll have to go back and listen to our coverage of that fight to remember all of the details. But I just remember not being happy with this guy. So I'm leaning towards Fernando on this one, just off of what I've already seen.
I am also gonna take Fernando just because Tobias is not very good. He made the interesting choice to not ask Gilbert Burns to train him rather than to manage him. That was,
True.
you're 23. You would need all the help in the gym that you could get, soak up all the information. The fuck you hiring this dude to be your manager for? I don't know, but it is what it is. Lucas Fernando, I mean, the guy that he lost to, Asmat Bekaev, for that belt as soon as he came off the Contender Series, he's in the UFC. I mean, it's UFC level. I think 23 years old for Tobias is a lot younger than what his skill needs to be for a young up and coming prospect at that age, at that demographic age group. I mean, when you're looking at people, they have a certain skill. I've said the same thing about Alice Pereira. I don't think she has the typical 22-year-old skill set, for being in the organization at that young. You should be advanced, but I think we're at an era where we're growing them a lot younger. So
Right.
I think he's part of that, but I don't think he's of the caliber that a 23-year-old needs to be if they're going to be in the organization. So,
Sure. Yeah. And the whole mindset of, oh, well, he has UFC experience now. It doesn't track with someone at that stage. You know what I mean?
and
Like
against fucking Dyer Nurgajai.
that too, of course. Yeah, definitely that. Definitely that. So, I mean, really, again, this ends up being kind of like another Contender Series fight. And seeing how Tobias conducted himself in the last one, I'll take the roll of the dice. So yeah, Lucas Fernando sounds good to me.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, then that takes us to this is actually like a sneaky banger here on the early prelims. Wildly enough, Neil Magny versus Ramiz Brahimaj. How did this end up this far down the card? These are both two named fighters. I mean, granted, neither of them like the highest of the high caliber, perhaps, but both guys that you are well aware of. Both guys who have at times gotten their licks in and gotten wins and whatnot. I mean, Neil Magny maybe a little bit towards the tail end of the career for sure, but I mean, I think that this is a great fight that they're putting early on this card.
This is good if you're getting the version of Brahimaj that was before Puliana Soriano,
True.
Punahele Soriano, whatever the hell that dude's name is. My bad, apologies. I think Brahimaj really upset a lot of people with his performance in that one because he did not show out. He did not show anything that he was showing on that win streak that he was on. This one, I think, is going to be a little similar. I think Neil Magny, because Brahimaj isn't necessarily the biggest threat on the feet, in my opinion. He's not just going to walk over and just cold him. Neil Magny is going to get a takedown. Brahimaj is a grappler, and I think he'll have some success in the grapples, and I think it will be a scramble fest. But I think Brahimaj, with this opponent, I think they're setting him up for another failure in my eyes. Of course, I don't think he's going to finish Neil. He doesn't have that game too. He is a finisher itself, but I don't see it being applicable against Neil Magny himself. He's a very good grappler. He's a very good wrestler. He's not getting just choked out by anybody. If he gets starched out on the feet, I will be very surprised. But I think Brahimaj God damn, the way that I'm reading this, maybe he's not going to win this, but I'm going to take Neil Magny by decision. I'm not going to lie.
Wow. Well, I mean, you're stealing my picks before I make them over here, Chase. But you know how I ride with Neil Magny. Neil Magny is the dude that is. I mean, people call him the gatekeeper, and like they kind of have that as a negative terminology when it comes to him. I think that it tracks more so in the sense that like you have to be at a level that can surpass him because he is that good. Like I think that people kind of put a negative connotation on it, but with Neil Magny, it's really the opposite. Like he's keeping people below him because he is of a caliber that demands that. And Brahimaj, like you said, it was a little bit of a poor showing in the last fight. I mean, this is a dude, Amasov is the dude who gets past him. Brahimaj, I wouldn't say that Brahimaj is that good. Like, not he's not at the level of a guy like an Amasov or a Carlos Prates. I mean, we're talking about some guys who now are going on to become the somewhat elites or on their way to becoming elites of this division. Brahimaj just has not achieved that. So until Brahimaj shows me that he is that level, I mean, the win streak was good. The win streak was the right start, but then you have the backslide. That's that takes the momentum down. And like, when it comes to a guy who is still like trying to prove that he is of that caliber, 13-6. I mean, he's over the halfway point on the losses at this point of his career. I mean, granted, there were extenuating circumstances earlier on, but it don't matter. It don't matter at this stage, brother. You have to go out there and you got to consistently win to get past the Neil Magnies, to get past all of these other guys in that bracket and get yourself into the rankings. I've not seen the proof yet. So, with that as the thought process, I got to ride with the OG legend, Neil Magny.
I'm going to pick otherwise, because as much as I believe Neil Magny and what I said, I believe all this tracks. He is older. Someday it's just gonna not be his day ever again, and he's gonna have to head out and into the sunset. Brahimaj, I don't see the way that he does it. I'm not envisioning him knocking him out or choking him out, but I think that's important. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know the game plan, but I'm gonna believe that the guy he's still in the mix. Let's go ahead and get it done for the young guys out here, Brahimaj, and wear your little cone head hat, please.
Gotta love the nipple hat. Yeah, no, look, I mean, you are right. Neil Magny, the end of the line is going to come at some point. I mean, I don't know if he's already started that conversation yet about the end of his career, but it's got to be somewhere sooner than later, I would think. Maybe he fights into 40, 41, but that's really going to be pushing it. Still a guy who I think can pull out the wins, though. So I'm sticking with my guns on this one. I'm going Neil Magny by decision. I think that, he just ends up negating a lot of the attack patterns of Brahimaj. I will give Brahimaj credit, though. He is a New Yorker. He's a dude who has that New York grit to him. So maybe he muscles it out and gets a little bit of the edge on Magny via, just grit and determination alone. But, on paper, in this instance, I'm going with Neil Magny.
100%. I love it.
All right. And that takes us to the first fight of the evening. How the fuck do you have this as the first fight with the fan favorite in it? We've got Jeremiah Wells, and he is going up everyone's favorite caveman, Miktabek Orobai. I mean, this is a crazy way to start the card. I'm not unhappy about it. I mean, this is going to be a pretty, I'd say, walk in the park kind of fight for our dude. I don't know. I mean, do you think there's more to Jeremiah Wells than I'm giving credit for?
No, but this dude, he definitely has caveman privilege, because this dude missed weight 2 different times at lightweight,
True.
goes up to welterweight, gets the fight against Chris Curtis. Cool. That's a pretty good name on the resume. But Jeremiah Wells is a ranked opponent in theory. So now Miktabek gets to take the easiest rank ever and then walk in, walk out with a submission. I mean, this is the easiest submission call I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Jeremiah Wells might be tough on the feet, might be this, might be that. Brother, Miktabek is relentless, dude. I can't see a world where Jeremiah Wells wins, let alone has any success, because he may get a strike off or two. Miktabek might get popped and might have to reset, but as soon as he says double leg in his head, he's going to take it. And then as soon as he realizes that he can rip your arm out of its socket, he's probably going to do that as well. So I love how easy it is for Orobai in this one, because we're going to get to see a vintage performance from him.
Whoever made that meme that was going around early on when Miktabek made his debut, it's the picture of him. He's looking off to the side, and I think the caption was something like, we found a literal caveman or something. Whoever made that meme deserves all the credit and the glory for how this guy's career has gone, for sure. Because like you said, there is definitely a privilege going on here, because the organization, you think that they're not out there with their eyes and ears on the community. They certainly are. They are always listening. They have their ear to the ground, their finger on the pulse of what's going on when it comes to the conversations. They know that this guy has the perception that he has. They know that we like to, that we root for him. They probably even know that Chase Parton has a framed picture of this man in his house right now, probably just off camera over there. I mean, he is a fan favorite for a reason. And also that's the other good part about it is that besides the meme and a little bit of privilege that he has had with all these weight misses, which is bullshit by the way, but still it is what it is on that part of it. He does get his job done when he is in there. This guy is an octopus. This dude will grab a hold of you and he sucks you in and he gets his hands on you and his legs around you and you don't get to move after that.
Yeah.
And if you try, he'll drag you back down. He like you said, relentless is the exact right word for him. Miktabek, easy win on this one, I would think. I mean, maybe Wells gives him a little bit of a problem at the beginning of the rounds when it starts off on the feet. Miktabek, level change. Come on, it's not there's not really too much to it, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, this one's going to be easy. I'm glad we get to see him first. I'll probably
Yeah,
be eating a nice meal while I'm going to eat my whole ham hock or whatever while my dude's out here running it. Shout out to Orabai, man. I appreciate him.
right. The big turkey leg just
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Very cool. And I appreciate that. Good deal. Well, of course, we will watch all of these fights together on our individual watch alongs. You can find me at youtube.com/@Yama Show watching all of UFC 330. And Chase, I know where they can find you, or you know where they can find you. Tell them.
Yes, absolutely. YouTube.com/@CP Smalls, of course. And I know we missed you on Friday for One Championship Friday fights, but this Friday we are back at it. And Saturday, of course, we will be watching UFC. So appreciate you guys.
That's right. I am at Yama Show on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and now it seems to be officially on TikTok. So if you guys are on TikTok, please make sure to follow me over there. We've been doing some pretty good numbers on TikTok, and it's been helping us out. So definitely follow on the social media. And of course, as we said at the start of this thing, the Contender Series starts tomorrow. So I will be here live for that as well. We'll be doing the Ultimate Fighter after that. And I think I'm taking a goddamn day off of streaming on Wednesday because I have been on for a lot of days in a row. So either way, many more things coming on the channel as they always are. Make sure to go over to Chase's channel and watch the PWR. That's definitely a great thing that he's been doing over there. A good stroll down memory lane of some of the stuff that we've done on stream and on this very show. So we will see you in the next stream, whatever it may be. You have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.